Thank you very much, Mrs. Saria, for your thoughts, except that good, and lobbying for improvements for those who are differently able. Welcome again to those who joined us after we started. It is my pleasure to chair this meeting this afternoon as we focus on our theme, remaining focused. Remaining focused. Now, 10 months ago today, I wonder if you could recall what you were doing. Is there anyone who can recall what you were doing 10 months ago on the 23rd? Getting ready to go to Bay Street, somebody said? Huh? The reality is that we were all excited 10 months ago because of what we knew was about to happen. And would you believe, comrades, this evening, that it has only been 10 months. Tomorrow, God willing, the 24th of this month, will mark 10 months, just 10 months, since this Barbados Labour Party came to office. So yes, I agree, that deserves a round of applause. And why we have elected this afternoon to focus on this theme, remaining focused, is because we need you, not only the members of this beloved party, but we need Barbadians in general to stay focused. This is not the time to lose heart. This is not the time to become distracted. This is not the time to be questioning where we're going and wondering what is going on. This is the time to stay focused. How many of us would have thought that beyond the mission critical things that this Barbados Labour Party identified, that when we came to office 10 months ago, that we found a myriad of issues. And I believe ministers, as they come this afternoon, would share that they're still finding issues. Our manifesto, if you recall, identified 17 mission critical things that we felt needed to engage our attention in the first 6 months of assuming office. When we got there, instead of 17 things, can you imagine that this administration found no fewer than 30 issues? 30 issues that were considered critical and needed our focus and needed our attention. No wonder our Prime Minister has been saying from the very beginning that many hands make light work, because the state of our economy was more dire than we could have even imagined, more dire than we thought. And so our team put their hands to the plow, as we know from that famous portion of text, and they started the work. They started the work. And 10 months after, we're beginning now to see the signs of growth. We're beginning to see that this party was able to stabilize things. Our dollar is safe today. That deserves a round of applause. Come on, our dollar was on the brink of devaluation. No one is even talking about devaluation now because our dollar is safe. We've been able to pull our economy back from the brink. But I dare say that it is not over. It is far from over. There is a lot more work to be done. And we have now moved into the second gear. And that gear, comrades, is looking to transform the economy. We are in that transformational phase. And so we need you to stay focused. We need you to stay focused. I'm not sure that I'm getting home. So I want you to look at your neighbor and tell them, stay focused. Come on. Tell the next one beside you on the other side, stay focused. Because whenever we leave here this afternoon, I want for everyone to recall that phrase, we are staying focused. There is a lot of work to be done, and we have a competent team that is able to do it. And the Barbadian public, believe it or not, they agree with me. Because 10 months ago, as Barbadians came out in their droves, they came out in their numbers. I worked here in my branch in Michael Northeast, and it just motivated my heart as we went around to see that people stood in long lines, and they were prepared to stay in long lines. They were prepared to stay as long as it was required, despite the fact that they were confronted with every kind of obstacle. All kind of obstacles were placed in their way. Come on, you remember it 10 months ago. You remember the issues. You remember people went to the polls. They went to the polling station that they were assigned, and their name was not on the list. They had to stay in this line, and by the time they got to the booth, then they found out, oh, you're not here, you're this other place. All kind of obstacles were placed in their way. But what did we see? We saw that Barbadians were prepared to go through what they needed to. Why? It was important that they sent a clear message, a profound message, a message that was not ambiguous at all. They wanted everyone to understand we need a change. We were fed up with how things were going in this country, and we needed change. And they stood there, and the first time in the history of this nation, a political party was able to win every single seat, every single constituency, every single seat. As a matter of fact, the Barbados Labour Party won all but 2 boxes. Can you imagine that? All but 2 boxes. And you know where they were. You know where they were. But the lesson that we must take away is that Barbadians exercise a level of confidence in the Barbados Labour Party, in Team BLP, in Mayor Amo Motley, and the 29 others with her at the time. There were actually 29 with her at the time. Huh? You look in the manifesto, you see whose signature is closest to her. Huh? 29 with her at the time. The Barbadian public exercised confidence in this party to bring us back from the brink. And that, comrades, we are doing. That, comrades, this team led by our Prime Minister is focused on. And so this evening, we have a number of persons who are going to come and share what is happening within their respective ministries, within their constituencies, and all of them will help us to remain focused. This is our theme this afternoon. We are staying focused. Now is not the time, comrades, to get weary. You don't get weary in well-doing. Yes? You're going to stay focused. So let me at this time bring our first speaker to us this evening. He is the Member of Parliament for St. Philip South, and he currently holds the portfolio of the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security in our cabinet. Let's welcome the Honorable Inda Ware at this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. You know, I want some energy because I came from all the way in the east down here to make sure that we can tell you what is happening. I would first want to start by acknowledging the President and the Executive of the St. Michael Northeast Branch and all you members and party supporters. I want to say how pleasing it is to see all of you here this afternoon. Today being a Saturday, I know most of you would have had your pudding in sauce and gone to early siesta so that you can get up and peruse tonight. So I'm indeed pleased to see all of you here this afternoon. I'm even more happy to see that in our midst there are a number of young faces, which is always a good thing. And I am even more pleased to see that you are here because you've come prepared to stay the course. Now, comrades, ladies and gentlemen, the last time I spoke on a platform in support of Mayor Amo Motley, she was indeed then the leader of the opposition. And I said then that she would become Barbados' first female Prime Minister. And that indeed came to pass. And I'm happy to return in a very short 10 months to be here speaking on behalf of the Honorable Mayor Motley, Barbados' first Prime Minister. I will share with you my experience in working with her in the cabinet. But before I do so, there's something that I want to share with you after she delivered the budget in Parliament on Wednesday. I received a WhatsApp message from one of my constituents, and he is one eminent person from the medical fraternity. And he said to me, Mr. Minister, what are we doing to promote our Prime Minister? Having listened to that master class of budget presentation yesterday, I think that we are not using our natural resources to their fullest. We should rent out the Honorable Mayor Motley to the developed countries to solve their most difficult problems. He went on to say, we can only do it for 3 months because she must be here for 9. But in those 3 months, it will be enough to help them solve problems with Brexit, North Korea, France, and Germany. And then he went on to tell me, from renting her out to the developed countries, Barbados stands to earn tens of trillions of dollars in U.S. currency and euros so that we all can enjoy yachts across the world, because we would have so much in foreign currency from renting out our Prime Minister to solve the international problems that we will all be happy. Well, he said it. I didn't. I agree with him, though. And I took the time, because I thought that with such a most profound message being sent, that I should let her know how this eminent person feels about her. And she listened. She read the message and humbly said, tell him I say thanks. Most people would have been gloating and carrying on. But she humbly said, tell him I say thanks. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Barbados is a blessed place. It is blessed because we have had our problems, and we have said they are not insurmountable. During the time we were in opposition, everyone was saying, oh, you're criticizing, but you're not offering any solutions. Our response was, we are offering solutions. We are offering the Barbados Labour Party as an alternative government to the present one. And that in itself was a big solution. Now they wanted us to come and tell them everything we had planned to do to fix the problems, so that they can do one or two things. One, poo-poo it, criticize, and turn the country against us. Or two, copy them and lay claim to them. But I also do recall that the same person, who is now our Honorable Prime Minister, suggested a group of eminent persons who could have worked together in helping the then administration to be able to solve the problems of the country. And you would not believe that, one, the then Prime Minister refused because it suited his agenda, and I will come to that as well, and that some of the person, or one person in particular, rebuked the suggestion, suggesting that he was never in favor of it. Well, time is always, always, always the healer. And what we have now is a Prime Minister in the Honorable Mayor Amor Motley, who has demonstrated clearly that she was prepared to stick to her word and solve Barbados' problems. What it is that confused Barbadians, or, to use the favorite word of the same person that rebuked her, what is it that humbugged Barbados more than anything else? It was the thought of the currency being devalued. That is a fact. And a Barbadian will go without a meal. A Barbadian will go without a job. A Barbadian will go without a boyfriend or a girlfriend. But a Barbadian would never want to part ways with a currency peg at 2 to 1. And that's a fact. It is so simply because we know that Barbadians do a couple of things. One, if you're working, we sacrifice a bit to save a piece of change. We also invest in pension schemes. We also know that we invest heavily in our children's education, especially those we send overseas to study. Barbadians are usually not wasteful people financially. So that the notion or the thought that you would suffer a downgrade was certainly not acceptable. You may ask why I'm saying this. I am saying this simply because I know with all confidence that equally every Barbadian is prepared to make a sacrifice to make this place better. And that's what we have been called upon to do. So that when we say to you, stay the course, we are saying to you, we got this. And we do. We got this because the budget presentation you heard on Wednesday is nothing but a clear demonstration of what can be done to create balance in a country whilst we seek to ease some of the pressure and at the same time stabilize an economy. You can't say honestly that the budget was not a balanced one. It was indeed a very balanced budget, and I'm told I only have 20 minutes, but if I'm going to speak to the budget and then speak to my ministry and then speak about the leadership of our Prime Minister, I really should have an hour and 20 minutes. How do you all feel? The reality is that prior to Wednesday's budget, I will go to the barber shop, let's call it that, because in reality that's what it is in our country and in our communities. And when I'm there, for some reason, cars will start pulling up, and men would get out and come in, and we will start to talk. Invariably, I will hold my little corner because I don't like to be too visible. And they would come in, and the conversation of politics will start. And after the estimates were laid in Parliament, when Minister Duguid went in the well and explained to the people of Barbados what was taking place at his ministry, the conversation about an increase in bus fares started right across Barbados. And many Barbadians proffered that bus fares would probably go to $5. I heard the conversation, I saw it on social media, and everybody had his or her opinion. Many people opined that $5 would have been the increase in bus fares. In that barbershop that afternoon, I stood in awe. And I'm telling you, I will not lie to you. I stood in awe when every single manjack said the bus fares should be increased. I didn't ask them. They told me to go back and tell the cabinet the bus fares should be increased. My response to them was, how are we going to tackle this politically? And they said to me, politically, you must always win on the ground. When the people on the ground believe that something should be so, it must be so. We are saying that we want an increased bus frequency. We are saying that the country does not have money. We are saying we are prepared to make the sacrifice. We are saying increase the bus fares. And then we went to a discussion on about if it should really be $5 or not. Nobody told me it should be less than $4. I posted it on Facebook. Nobody told me it should be less than $4. So, generally speaking, on the ground, most people appreciated the fact that at some point in time, we had to do what was right for this country. And we had to do what was right for the provision of a good transportation system so that people can get to and from work, and that people can be assured that if a bus is supposed to pass at 2 o'clock, it doesn't pass at 6 in the evening. That is what we have to do. Our conversation can no longer be about whether or not bus fares should be increased. That's a given. Our conversation should no longer be about how the poor man is going to cope, because we understand the resilience of Barbadians. Our conversation should be now about an improved bus system, which I will fight for. And the minister already knows my position on an improved bus system in Barbados. Our conversation, therefore, must be how people will seek to benefit from the discounts that will be available to them when they do advance purchases for bus services. So we have before us an opportunity, for one, for the ministry with responsibility for transport to be able to deliver a better bus service for Barbadians. And that we will continue to work on. I know we are moving to the electronic type buses because we have also committed to a fossil-free environment in Barbados by 2030. So that the buses that will come to us, we are going to use buses that helps us to remove our carbon footprint. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are not a perfect government by any stretch of your imagination. But the leadership is everything to do with achieving your objectives. I sit in a cabinet every Thursday, and the cabinet is by no means a joke exercise. When you come there strictly to do business. And a minister with responsibility for transport and works can attest to this. Every member in our cabinet on a Thursday must come prepared to work. And that is what it is about. Because within the first 6 months, what did we say? Our chairperson already alluded to it, that we had some mission critical items that we had to deal with. And we had to get them out of the way. I stand here as a proud Barbadian and a member of our cabinet to tell you that they have been delivered, and they have been delivered some before the set timeline. Now, do you fix an economy like Barbados' own in 3 months? That's a challenge, and it has been a challenge. But in 3 months, we started to pass all the right signs. In that 3 months, we were able to enter into an arrangement with the IMF. And the IMF is the most rebuked organization Barbadians can ever target. Barbadians felt that you would have to be crazy to want to enter into an arrangement with the IMF. But you're not to blame. It is the ones who stand in your name and the ones who call themselves politicians that kept you there in believing that an arrangement with the IMF would have been doom and gloom for Barbadians. You have now proven, and this administration has been able to demonstrate to you that that is not the case at all. But what it did for us, it helped us to create some discipline in this country, and at the same time, it helped for us to pass all of the right signs on our way to protecting our currency and rebuilding our program through and rebuilding our country and our economy through the BERT program that was put in place. And ladies and gentlemen, that is commendable. It means to me everything as a Barbadian. And to achieve that, we really owe it to the economics team that our Honorable Prime Minister surrounded herself with as she set out on this journey to make sure that we rebuild this economy. And I ask you to acknowledge the work they did with a resounding round of applause for what they have done for Barbados. But it wasn't just the economics team. Every single line minister is required to participate. So we got all the mission criticals lined up. And you know we like to talk about having your ducks in a row. We had them line up and we take them one by one going forward. What is it we said we were going to do? That on assuming government, children, especially children from parents in communities like right here in Bush Hall, can go back to the university without having to pay tuition fees. That is commendable. And every time we speak as Barbadians, we cannot help but remember that dreadful moment in time in this country when the then government chose to foist upon you, the people of Barbados, especially working class people, the introduction of tuition fees at the University of the West Indies to gut your family from progress. And this is a fact that we have to face. And that we can come after they said those days are over. You can no longer allow students to go to the university without paying. We have proven that it can be done, and the country is still doing better after it has been reintroduced. But we have also said government is about options. You must be prepared to spend money where the country will benefit as a whole, but that you can also deliver those social services that made us champions as Barbadians. The one thing that you can tell anyone anywhere in the world is that we are champions when it comes to education and delivering service. That is us. That is us. This is a Barbadian. This is what makes us stand proud anywhere globally, because we are highly trained. We have some of the most educated people standing globally. And at the same time, we know what it is to give service. Yes, we criticize ourselves because the expectation is so high that we criticize. But when you juxtapose a Barbadian in the tourism services sector against many that I have seen as a person that has traveled the globe, we know what it is to deliver service. And that's a plus for us. So that if you are going to remove access to tertiary education, you're essentially pushing back every Barbadian that stands a chance with a degree or some kind of tertiary training, because it's not only degrees that we are looking at. We're also looking at vocational training as well, because we understand what it is for a Barbadian to be certified without having to go to a university. But there's no way this country would have progressed by asking poor people to pay for their children to go to university. It wouldn't happen. And you can go and look at the stats and see how many students dropped out of university for one simple reason: they couldn't afford to pay. The other thing we said to Barbadians is that on assuming office, there will be no more road tax, because you had too many people flouting the system, and that you will no longer be asked to pay road tax simply because there's a better way. And there's a better way that includes every single soul that drives a car, whether he or she likes it or not. Because this is about country. This is not about the Barbados Labour Party. We put the country first. We could work on building the party. That's why we're saying to you, stay the course. That's why we're saying to you, we got this. Because building the Barbados Labour Party is what we know. And the leadership that we have in Barbados Labour Party will do just that. But this country could not be ignored. And so therefore, we said to you, look, play your part. Every man must. And we got rid of road taxes. You don't pay road taxes for your private vehicle anymore. And that's our reality. We delivered that as well. And every Barbadian benefits from it. Now, you don't have to be scratching your head annually to pay your road tax or float the law, because you had a lot of people driving around in vehicles where the road taxes weren't paid for many years. And equally, there are people who are adamant that they're not going to pay any road tax anyway. So we had to find a better system. You have, as a society emerges, as we evolve, you're going to get change. And you're going to get mindsets that you must be prepared to grapple with. And that is what exactly we did when we dealt with the road tax. Now, you can afford now to buy a car and jump in and go. The fellows who felt that they didn't have to pay because they can float the system, they're in a system to float now, because you got to put in diesel or gasoline for it to go on your road. You choose. You choose. But I know that once you have a car, you're contributing to this country. And that works for us. It works for the same person that may want to criticize it, because a good Barbados is a good place for every Barbadian to prosper. Now, we are not about self, as I said, we are about country. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we didn't stop there. We didn't stop there. We also said to Barbadians that we are going to fix our healthcare system. And now you're having the introduction of a 24-hour system at our polyclinics. Because the burden at A&E at the hospitals, you can't carry. And it's our reality. So that now if you're getting a 24-hour system service at the polyclinics, then suddenly you release the burden at A&E, and there's more to come at the Ministry of Health and Wellness. All right? This is what you call a working government. This is what you call a government that got this. This is a government that's asking you to stay the course. Now, I will be first to admit that there are people among us who had expectations of achieving things personally. There are some people who might feel as though there's disadvantage because, one, there might be in need of a job. Two, there might have been some thing that was outstanding that they wanted fixed when we came to government. But all of those things are still on our things to do list. We have jobs to deliver, I know that. And those jobs will be coming. The Prime Minister's adamant about setting up a national training initiative. Because we understand that if people are going to be retrenched, that we then have to find a way to retool those people to get them back into a system that is meaningful. And gone are the days when a government, and I've said this over and over throughout the campaign, must be seen as the employer first choice. We have to make entrepreneurs out of Barbadians. And the way to do that is to break the shackles that hold Barbadians' minds away from believing that they too can do it. That is our problem. That is our reality. Shackles that we are bogged down with in believing that only a certain few can be business people. All of you can, because I became one in my early age. I might be gray now and stuff, but I remember the day when I broke ground. Because I didn't feel that I should continue to be an employee for anyone. And if I can get 10 of you leave here this evening believing that your responsibility to yourself is to own your own business, we got systems in place that are there waiting for you to take advantage of. And that is what this government is about. So that we are providing the training, because we have to retool you. Don't sit in the belief that because there was a retrenchment program, you must sit and wait for your MP to provide you with the next job. That we can only go so far as MPs. We can only go so far as ministers. But if we are going to keep this lean and clean, after we fixed it, we cannot go back and mess it up. And so the reality is now is that you have to embrace and take buy-in of what is being done for you as a people of this country to make sure that you are given a chance to be part of the economic structure of Barbados that says when we cut it up, this piece is yours. That is where we are going. Equally, there are ministries currently that will provide opportunities for you to have jobs, but that you must understand that you should want to come in at the ownership level. In my ministry, for example, the cabinet just approved a policy framework for the introduction of medicinal cannabis in Barbados. Now, I came from the private sector, and I came from tourism. So when the Prime Minister said to me, I want you to take agriculture and do two things for me. First of all, I don't want you to sit down at a desk every day. I want you to get out there and listen to the farmers, because that's the only way you're going to know what to do. The other thing I want you to do is to look at national food security. That is why I put food security onto the ministry. And you have got, and I'm going to repeat her words because I will never forget them. You have got my man, medicinal cannabis, that I want you to deliver. I said, thank you. I'm happy to participate. And then she said, I love you. And that's when my heart dropped. Because when a person says they love you, you can't afford to disappoint that person. So I went away thinking about this medicinal cannabis. And I said, well, now how I'm going to do this? Because Canada struggle to get it going. United States, the big United States of America, struggled at startup. Number of things went wrong. It had to be changing and changing. Jamaica had problems too. And all the research that I did, I said, well, okay, this, I'm going to learn from all the mistakes of the others who are ahead of me so that we can at least start this right. I am happy to report to you that we got the cabinet to agree that we will have a medicinal cannabis industry taking advantage of the full value chain. So we ain't growing the cannabis and shipping it overseas like how we used to do sugar. You remember we used to grow sugar and send all overseas? We ain't doing it that way. We're taking advantage of a full value chain based on 4 fundamental pillars. 1, that Barbados will be a center of excellence for research and development, and you heard it in the budget. 2, that we will be the center for certification for the region. And that 3, this introduces an opportunity for a new type of tourism, where people can come to Barbados for rehabilitation and at the same time use the treatments that have been prescribed to them right here in Barbados and therapies so that you get a value added going. And that the 4th one was to make sure that we in Barbados take advantage of being able to produce and develop our own strains so that when we produce the final product for medication, that Barbados then stands and holds its place in a global environment where an industry is going to move to $100 billion in 6 years. There's a place for Barbados. And without giving away too much of what we have planned, I say to you that we have also said that we are already known for excellence in agriculture. We got a place called the ARVTU, the Agro Research Variety Training Unit, that deals with sugarcane. Do you know that we do research and strains of sugarcane for as far as field as Indonesia? This is how good we are as a people. Right here, we do variety testing. For a lot of places, Guatemala being one. And that we've said that if we have this place that is so good, then we can use it, because we use it for sugar and we use it for non-sugar as well. And that we can work then on developing that special cultivar that Barbados will be known for. And that special strain that we would have that would give us an edge in the marketplace. And that's what we are working towards. This speaks to opportunities for people as growers who would deliver for processing. Young people, like young men and women in this community. But we ain't only going there, food security falls under me as well. And I have already gone public to say what we are doing. Because communities like these right across here, you can have about 10 greenhouses lined up where you don't even know that agriculture is going on in there. And that if you can take a container, the equivalent of 40-foot container, the equivalent of a 2 acres farm, to grow food, then line them up there. Right across Barbados, within the urban corridor, you can do it seamlessly. Nobody knows what is going on there. And then if we can replicate this right across Barbados, and I've already started a mapping exercise where we're going to do a mix of containers and a mix of smaller greenhouses, right across Barbados in our communities where people have been disadvantaged, there's an opportunity now for young people to participate because they come driven by technology. So an app. You have an app? This is my mobile phone. But I can use this to turn on the lights so that the plants can get light and plants grow by light. That I can turn on the nutrients that will go to the plants. And I can turn off. By use of this, you don't have to go in the container. And that I can adjust the temperature to suit the temperatures that are suitable for the plant at the time. And that I don't even have to go in there to plant a seed. And I can do it from this mobile app as well. Who is that attracted to? Who is it attractive to? Young people. So that when we provide the training for these young people, you no longer have people feeling that they're standing outside of the tent and that Barbados is for a certain few. But all of a sudden, young people are so engaged in their ownership that they then do not have time to struggle and feel as though that they must hustle. And when a man is asked to hustle, what you can do? He can hustle. And hustling might mean that you might lose your bag. Because you're asking a man to survive under conditions where he must struggle. And when it comes down to struggle, we all look to do one thing, that is survive. This we have to fix. And I am saying to you, the responsibility that I have to this country, I am going to deliver across Barbados as we map out areas in the urban corridor so that we can put down greenhouses and train our young people to be able to operate them. But it doesn't end there, because if I give you a greenhouse to operate and then you get produce that is ready for harvesting and you don't have a market for it, I create another problem. So what I am doing is working through the BADMC for them to offload the produce from you. And that they would then work through the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association to make sure that visitors to this country are eating locally produced food. And that I am also working towards Vision 2020, the home gathering, where when Barbadians come home next year, they're eating locally produced food as well. And if I can get all these things going with your support, and I'm sure I already have the support of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet of Barbados, what do we have? We have Barbadians that are empowered. And people talk about, oh, man, Minister, what are you going to do to reduce the food import bill? That is not the conversation I want to have. That will be reduced naturally. Because once I have you empowered, my conversation is about how I can empower you. When you are empowered in agriculture to grow food, what is the next thing that would happen? The import bill must come down. So I don't need to bog down myself, nor burden you with a conversation that oftentimes is only anecdotal, because a lot of the facts isn't there. Look, Barbados imports over 600 million Barbados dollars in what they call agriculture products or food. Primary agriculture is 176 million. That is what I'm targeting. Because I understand that if I can target that 176 million in a conversation with you, the people of this country, that says to all of you, Barbadians, this is your chance to grow lettuce. grow broccoli, grow kale. Stop importing pumpkins by growing more pumpkins. We import a lot of pumpkin. All right? Melons. A lot of the berries that we import. But equally, that if I target the Scotland district for what we have in place for a program which introduces agroforestry in Barbados in a way that we've never seen it before. We're going to plant back our Barbadian cherries. We're introducing soursop in the Scotland district. And soursop then will be used as a national medicinal fruit, where you're not only eating the soursop, but you're boiling the leaves because it can give you a cooling tea. And that the same leaves can be used as a repellent. And that right across Barbados and right across that Scotland district area, when we develop agroforestry, we know that fruit trees take long to grow. So we're going to have an intercropping exercise where between the trees you're planting legumes and other root crops as well. So that the farmer is getting a quick crop where he or she can go to market. This is what we are doing. I've already committed the BADMC. And I've said, look, we have to also target our schools. Because when we target the schools, what are we doing? We are then going to reduce the scourge of chronic non-communicable diseases in Barbados by way of putting healthy foods on our children's plates. So that I have entered into an agreement with the Food and Agricultural Association of the United Nations to make sure that we work with the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the Ministry of Education to make sure that our schools have clean food. And I said clean food deliberately because they wouldn't be getting corned beef and macaroni pie and those kind of things. They're going to get wholesome foods. But for us to continue that as well, then we also have to make sure that we have the foods grown in the communities. And that is why it is important to make sure we have the greenhouses in the communities. Because you have produce in your community where you take what you want for local consumption. The rest goes to the BADMC, and we look then for the markets for it. That is the plan for Barbados. I have heard all the conversations on the call-in program. I've even listened to the leader of the opposition listing all the plans that I have for agriculture, taken from our estimates, and somebody calling it their own. Some man that he has shadowing me in agriculture. At no point in time did I receive credit for the work that is currently in the estimates for financial year 2019-2020. But don't worry, I speak on Monday. Ladies and gentlemen, stay the course. We got this. I'm obliged to you.
Stay the course. Come on, that is the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, the Honorable Inda Ware. And he shared some insights with us on the various plans within his ministry. Now, when I hear people talk, I have to go back a little bit, you know. People will say, well, but don't go back to the past. Don't go back to the past. But sometimes you have to. And I'm saying this evening to the members of the Barbados Labour Party family that there are times you have to remind people about the past. Because if you don't recall the past, understand the past, you are prone to repeat. And therefore, we have to remember what brought us here in the first place. When you have conversations, members of this Labour Party, with people who are very critical, remind them of how we got here. Remind them that Barbados last May had the third highest level of debt at 175% of our GDP. The third in the world, not in the hemisphere, not in the Caribbean, but in the world. Come on, remind them of the fact that when this Barbados Labour Party administration left office in 2008, debt was what? 6 billion. In 2018, it was 15 billion, and you cannot identify one road that was fixed. Come on. You can't identify one school that was built. Huh? You can't get no garbage trucks, no buses. We all know the state of our QEH. Many a times we have to come to the assistance of our constituents. You go into the QEH, you have to walk with your own toiletries. When did you ever see that happen in this Barbados? School meals. The stories are all there. Don't ever, ever let people forget where we were and the fact that we have now to rescue Barbados. And so within 10 months, comrades, it is highly impossible. I don't care how much you pray, how much you believe in miracles. I believe in miracles. But there is no miracle that would allow you to fix an economy that was destroyed over 10 years in 10 months. Could not happen. Was not possible. And so this is why we are saying to you, be focused. Stay focused. Let us stay the course. Because we have to fix this economy and we will need time to so do. But you would have seen that we are on the right track. Agree? We are on the right track. So stay focused. Let me also recognize this afternoon Minister Marsha Cattle in the Ministry of Finance, Economic Affairs and Investment. Welcome to you, comrade. I'm going to bring another person to the microphone at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first ministry of its kind, not only in Barbados, not only in the hemisphere, but in the world. And our Prime Minister had every confidence in this individual to give him this ministry. We know that he is going to do well in this ministry. He has demonstrated already his genius in dethroning someone in St. Michael South that I'm sure the good people of St. Michael South were so glad to see the back of. He has demonstrated already his abilities. And so this evening it is my pleasure to bring to us the Honorable Kurt Humphrey, the Minister of Maritime Affairs and the Blue Economy, and the MP for St. Michael South. Welcome, comrade.
Good evening. Yeah, y'all can hear me? All right, because I can hear y'all. And I like it. You know, I must tell you, I miss this part of the whole political thing, you know, where you have the opportunity to come and talk directly to your own people. First of all, let me say how pleased I am to be invited back here in St. Michael Northeast by the Prime Minister. I actually spoke here a few months ago. And I was honored then to come, and I'm honored now to be here. And I think you all should give yourselves, first of all, a round of applause, because we're BLP people. And, you know, I gave a lecture in 2016. I gave the Grant Lee Adams lecture. And in that lecture, I sought to distinguish between leadership and authority. And it seemed at the time to many people an abstract idea, like, Kirk, what are you talking about, you know? And I said at the time, authority really is about protection, direction, and order. You may God turn it down a little. So, an authority figure is the kind of person who puffs up their chest, you know? I'm the big man. They walk into the room and they want to tell people what to do and where to go and that kind of stuff. They're in charge. And they let you know they're in charge because they often say, well, I am the boss, or I am, in that case, the Prime Minister, as he was. And authority figures oftentimes say stupid things too, like a country could be going through turmoil, having received 23 downgrades, and an authority figure who doesn't understand leadership would say something like, well, downgrades don't matter. I need to borrow no money on the international market. An authority figure would also say something like, when people are suffering and in the midst of pain, I am not losing sleep over any of this. Because such a figure is completely disconnected from the reality of people. They don't understand what it takes to move a country from a position of austerity to a position of prosperity. And they don't understand that we all are only here because we stand on the shoulders of other people. I stand here because I stood on the shoulders of the good people of St. Michael South. And St. Michael South people brought me here. But a person who understands leadership would never say those things. I would never conduct themselves in such a way. When I gave the lecture at the time, I was suggesting that perhaps if Mia Motley had the opportunity to lead this country, we would be able to see the difference between an authority figure in Frandell Stewart and real leadership in Mia Motley. And if this last budget does not exemplify what leadership is, then I'm telling you, y'all will never see real leadership. And that in the last 10 months, we had the opportunity to benefit from leadership time and time and time again. And if you fully appreciate what we came in and found, and what we have been able to achieve, and all the time taking the people into our confidence, the Prime Minister taking the people into her confidence, and saying these are difficult waters. She said when we were about to negotiate with the IMF, my people got to eat first. So I want my pensioners to get an increase, man. I want public servants to get a raise. Things that people couldn't believe could happen on the eve of negotiating with the IMF. But she said it had to happen. And it happened. Because that is leadership. And a real leader cares about her people. And is curious about her people. And so I am so thankful for the last 10 months I had the opportunity to watch real leadership. After having the last almost 10 years of an authority figure who was completely clueless, may he rest in peace wherever he is. And I was in church, speaking of rest in peace. I was in church recently and they sang a song. I didn't know the song. It was new to me and many of y'all probably know it, but it went, we remember, we celebrate, and we believe. And I feel tonight that I just want to talk to you about those three things. That I feel we ought to remember, and that we ought to celebrate, and that we ought to believe. And I want to take this opportunity to remember who we are, first of all, as a people. That many of us, as a people, have gone through some of the hardest hardships, and that we are still here. You also saw Cynthia Ford before? Well, please acknowledge the Honorable Cynthia Ford, please, Minister of People's Empowerment. You know, she's one of the most supportive of all the MPs, and she always was. You can find her at every single thing we do. Give her a round of applause, please. She gives me a hard time, though, but you know I love her. But I feel that we must remember. And as Labour Party people, and as Barbadians too, because this is really important for Barbados, we have to remember who we are. And sometimes I feel we have to remember who we are as a political party. And that a lot of what we've come to appreciate in Barbados really started with the Barbados Labour Party. A lot of what we've come to appreciate in Barbados started with Grantley Adams. And that when the Labour Party started in 1838, it was in the face of real hard times. And that we must also remember that we started the labor movement too. And that we have always cared about people. And if you remember, and if you haven't, I will tell you tonight, when the Moynihan Commission was here and there was conversation, it was Grantley Adams who stood in front of the commission and made a case on behalf of poor black people in this country. And we have to remember. Because people want to steal the legacy of Grantley Adams. It will not happen in this Barbados Labour Party. But it was him who said we have to mobilize ourselves and organize and do something for ourselves. And if you want to forget all kinds of things, you can't forget that it was this Labour Party in the Tom Adams era that brought a lot of these institutions that we have now come to accept. A lot of the things that we associate with a modern Barbados came under Tom Adams. And I feel, You know, I'm taking the time tonight to say these things before I speak about my ministry, because Labour Party people, y'all don't have to be timid about who we are. We remember who we are. But it was Tom Adams who brought a lot of the things that we've now taken for granted. A lot of the institutions. You know, I also think about free education. That's Labour Party too. Don't let nobody fool you. Don't let anybody fool you. So that pound for pound, on any stage, on any scale, this Labour Party has done more for the people of Barbados than any other political institution. And you must not forget it. I came to tell you tonight, we must remember. We have to, who we are as a political party. I mean, the Petroleum Corporation, the National Bank, all the things. Labour Party things. And even though now we no longer have former Prime Minister in our ranks, he did a lot for Barbados too. Because the Labour Party has always done a lot. We must remember it. And I'm telling you that in 10 months, Miss Motley has done so much for all of us to remember. Remember her too. And there is no shame in any of it. And I do not want to be divisive. I'm not saying that as a Labour Party person tonight, we are trying to put ourselves above the Democratic Labour Party or the Joe Atherley Party, the JP, the Japs. Joe is my friend. But I'm saying at the end of the day, when you compare us pound for pound, stride for stride, this Labour Party is the oldest political institution in the English-speaking Caribbean, man. And we have a lot to be proud of. A legacy. And we must not let anybody take it for granted or take it from us. Because a lot of what we have taken now for granted in Barbados are Labour Party achievements. But the song that I heard in church said, we remember, we celebrate, and then we believe. So what do we now have to celebrate? Well, first of all, we have to celebrate that on May 24th, 2018, the people of Barbados got rid of the worst government Barbados ever had. The worst government Barbados ever had by far, far, far. But more importantly, because they don't want to focus on the negative, you have now elected a government that is looking after your interests. You have that to celebrate too. And you know, you have to celebrate a number of things. Let me look at the international environment and then come home. And then tell you why I feel you have to still believe. You know, I spoke about it very briefly during our recent budget debate. Barbados got blacklisted. Most of y'all know that. And we got blacklisted, why? You know, there is an international order that wants to dictate to small island developing states what they can and what they can't do. And they have said for a long time that we had two different rates of tax and that we had to converge the tax so that everybody, international companies and local companies, pay the same tax or rate of tax. Fair enough. So we said, well, you keep bullying us, and you know, if you know BLP people, we don't let nobody to bully we. But we said, fair enough. And we converged the tax. Now, the same international environment, the European Union, that mind you, the European Union is not empowered by law to tell anybody what rate of tax to charge, has now determined that, that Barbados has too low a rate of tax. Because they can stand in Europe and tell us what rate of tax that we should charge. But one European country can't tell another European country what rate of tax they should charge. Y'all understand? And so that we now find ourselves fighting with an international regime that doesn't have your interests at heart. But even in the middle of the fight, knowing that we were being bullied, because that's what people believe, you know, might is right. I am a big, powerful European Union, I could tell you what to do. Even in the middle of it, we are standing tall and fighting for the rights of our people. But hear me out. So as I was in Romania, and Romania now has the presidency of the European Union, and Jerome was supposed to go and he couldn't make it, so he sent me, poor little me. So I had to listen to the conversation. I gave a little speech and so on, and then we spoke. And the European Union, which is now headed by the Romania, the representative from Romania came to me and said, I do not know, because Romania fought for Barbados. Let me tell you. They said, I do not see what's happening in Barbados. To be fair, ladies and gentlemen, please acknowledge Mr. Ian Gooden, please. And they said, we don't think it is fair. And he came to me and he said, I still don't understand what it is that they're doing to you, but that we will fight for Barbados. And before I could take my seat properly, some man who could barely speak English came to me, Mia Motley. Because her name now is all over the Caribbean and all over the world, because Barbados is back, people. So don't let nobody fool you. Prime Minister Motley is putting Barbados back on the map, when Frandell Stewart's only success was to take it off. So that's the international environment. In the regional environment, now you're seeing presidents picking and choosing who they want to talk to. We have a situation in Venezuela that if you don't say the right things, you find yourself in trouble. And yet we are still fighting. On the local scene, Barbados is still going through difficult times. But I listened to the budget, and I said to myself that in these circumstances is the best budget that anybody could have bring for the people of Barbados. And I know there are some who are concerned. Obviously, like I said in the budget debate, it's not all going to be roses. It's a budget. But that you have now been able to have to pay less taxes should be a good thing out of your income tax. You could pick and choose how you choose to spend your money. But it is our intention to have Barbados so stirred up that everybody eventually is going to be working. Stay the course. I know that everybody is going to eventually be working, those who want to work in Barbados. And so I believe, because the last part of the song was, we believe. What do you believe? Well, let me tell you what I believe and why I feel you have to believe. I believe that things are already better. And I believe they're going to be even better than they are now. I believe that confidence has been restored to Barbados. And people want to invest in this country. They're lining up to do business in Barbados. I believe that we have done very, very well in fixing our economic woes. How do you go from having $400 million only in foreign reserves the other day and $1.1 billion today? How? I believe that things are a lot better than they were. Our economy is booming. People want to do business. As a matter of fact, I get emails every day now. Somebody who wants to do something in the blue economy, wants to do business in Barbados. They don't want to go nowhere else, because Barbados is a good place. And don't let anybody fool you. This is the best place in the world. And no matter how the Dems mistreat it, you can't kill that which the good Lord bless. So they can't kill this country. But I believe that we will get our social problems right too. And I must tell you that even though these young people running around killing one another, we got to do something with it. I do not believe there's a man more equipped to handle it than the Attorney General now, Dale Marshall. And if any man can bring order to this country, it's going to be Dale. But it's not only about bringing order through the police, because all of us are brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and daughters and sons too. And we have to talk to our children, to our friends. We got to talk to our brothers and our sisters. Because our society hasn't just gone wrong in the last 10 months. It didn't even go wrong in the last 10 years. You can't even blame the Dems for it, if you're fair. Something has gone wrong in our society. And that it is on every single one of us to bring it back. Now, when a man would run down Kadooment Day and shoot at people, well, something is wrong. Well, even the nature of crime, heinous as it has now become in Barbados, people don't shoot people mothers in Barbados. That's not what we do. People don't run into Sheraton Mall and slaughter people. That is not what we do either. So there is something foreign that has crept in to the fabric of our society, and by God, we have to root it out. We have to root it out. Anybody would tell you that I'm always the first to say we got to defend ghetto people and we got to defend poor people, but this ain't got nothing to do with being poor. I born poor. Most of my friends are poor. This ain't got nothing to do with being poor. We can't make excuses for people. And some mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters have to start making excuses for the family too. And if you're doing foolishness, I say to mine, you're doing foolishness. If you're doing foolishness, you're doing foolish. You got to wake up. You got to wake up, because at the end of the day, we only have one Barbados. One Barbados. So when men out there shooting, let me tell you, that affects all of us. Every single one of us. Because first of all, it could have been any of y'all in Sheraton. Anybody driving their car when the lady was unfortunately shot too by a stray bullet. Any of us outside of Parliament, of all places, when they killed Nard. We have to get a hold of this problem, and this is not a political problem. This is a Barbados problem, and I'm calling on Barbadians to help us solve it. Help the Attorney General to solve it. But I still believe that we will make this right. I believe in Barbados enough to know, if a system goes out of this, goes into this equilibrium for a little while, it must return to its natural state. This is not our natural state. We will get back to where we are supposed to be. But I also believe that we will fix this environment too, the marine environment, which I'm responsible for. And I see Ian Good and Edgel here, so I will talk for 5 more minutes. We inherited a Barbados that in the last 10 years has changed. Barbados popped down. If you look through town, it's looking better now. But you look through town, the place ain't got no business. Most of the businesses closed off. Once you could have walked through town and see people actually doing business, Bridgetown don't really got nobody now. If you look at the water filled with litter. People throwing garbage through the window now like it's nobody's business. Like nobody ain't care about Barbados, so we live here. Years ago, Mackie Holder dropped me home in the Pine. And when I got near to the garbage bin, Mackie was driving. I had a license. I surely had a car. I threw through the window, but I was throwing it toward the garbage and not just in the street. But I threw a plate toward the garbage and I missed it. And Mackie stopped the car and said, go and pick it up. And I said to Mackie, but why you gotta pick it up? Why you live out here, big man? You know what he said to me? He said, that is why you have to pick it up. Because you live out here. That is why we gotta keep Barbados clean. Because we live here. And ain't nobody else's Barbados. Oh man, you had to go and pick it up. But this ain't nobody else's Barbados. This is our Barbados. We have to keep Barbados clean. Now I announced very recently that we were banning plastics. And I won't talk about it extensively here because we're about to launch a whole series of town halls. But I said we had to ban plastics. And Barbados isn't the first country to do it. It's happening now all over the world. And it's happened also in the Caribbean. But the reason it is happening is because we've come to realize that plastic bags are not only, because when you throw a bag on the ground, it stays there for about 1,000 years. Bags don't disintegrate. Sometimes they stay there forever. When we had the flooding in Bayville, and we had the flooding in parts of Christchurch and down in the city by Bostic, when you started clearing the drains, the amount of styrofoam and plastic that we found, it was excessive. So it stays in the litter, in the environment for a long time. But it can't stay there if it ain't there in the first place. So 2 things. We know we have to pass legislation because it seems to me that Barbados wants to be governed by laws. I am imploring you to be governed by your values. Don't throw litter on the floor. It's only we Barbados. But the other thing is, if we say now that you have to bring material that is biodegradable, what it means is that if you unfortunately determine that you want to throw something on the ground
that in a few months, it will go back to a natural state. It doesn't stay and clog the drains, and it doesn't contribute to damaging the environment. That is why we're doing it. And it costs us so much money every year to try to clean up Barbados. So I'm asking you to help me to keep Barbados clean. And I'm asking you to help me to keep Barbados beautiful. And why am I asking you? Well, this is the last part of why I believe. I believe that not only Labour Party people, but Labour Party people particularly, but I believe Barbadians are a good, kind-hearted, well-to-do, forward-thinking people. That is what I believe. And I believe in you. And I know you believe in us. So if ever you have any doubts about what we are seeking to do, thank you. But if you have any doubts about what we are seeking to do, we are asking you to trust us. We are asking you to continue to believe. And of course, as the Prime Minister said, we are asking you now to stay the course. And it's not going to be easy. You know, my mother used to play a song, I beg your pardon. I never promised you a rose garden. And I can't promise you a rose garden, but I promise you roses. And I promise you it is going to get better. And that it is going to get better for all of us. Yes, you can feel it. I mean, can you not feel it? Things are going to get better. And I feel that way because I have the privilege of learning now. First of all, I'm so happy to be in the cabinet because I never thought it would happen to me. But how did I get to be in a cabinet with such distinguished men and women? And how did I get to be in a cabinet with a lady like Mia Amour-Motley as the head of that cabinet? And that I am learning so much from the Prime Minister every single day. For example, I saw the Prime Minister call people together. Everybody who was involved. She was taking a trip. And she had an agenda of the international trip. And line by line, item by item, everything had to be explained. What is Barbados' position on this? And if it was falling, why are we falling? That's not good enough. Fix this. Every single item. So the next week I went into my office. And I called a meeting too. And I had an agenda. And I said to them, tell me what this is. And if we're falling down, fix it. And tell me how we're going to fix it. Because if you have the opportunity to learn from the best, my friends, you should learn from the best. And Prime Minister Mia Motley is the best that Barbados has ever had. And so with those few words, I just want to thank you all for coming out. I want to thank you all for being good Labour Party people. I want to thank you all for being good Barbadians. And above all, on this evening, on this night, I want to thank you and implore you to stay the course. Better is coming. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. That is the Minister of Maritime Affairs and the Blue Economy and the representative for St. Michael South, the Honorable Kirk Humphrey. Let's give him another round of applause. I think I saw another parliamentarian in the audience. Let me recognize her. Sandra Husband. She is the Minister of Trade in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, the representative for St. James. So welcome and good to have you. We want to make sure we recognize all of our parliamentarians who have joined us this evening. Is there another one? Remember what the slogan is for this evening? What's the slogan? Stay the course. Remain in focus. Remain in focus. Now, without any further ado, the speakers are here, so I'm just going to move to the next one. We have a gentleman who will come to us at this time. He is a representative for the constituency of St. Peter. He's also the Minister of Labour and the Social Partnership Relations. He's going to come to us at this time, and he's going to continue our theme, remaining focused. Let's give him a big St. Michael Northeast round of applause, the Honorable Colin Jordan.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good night to St. Michael, Northeast. I've just come from St. Peter. And I know that some of you don't see a close relationship between St. Peter and St. Michael, Northeast. But times have changed. These are different days and these are better days. I want to start where Minister Humphrey left off. I have not come to big up the Prime Minister, but I given the speech, not you. But I can't speak as an MP, and I can't speak as a minister of government without mentioning or without saying something about my leader, about our leader, about the representative for this constituency. Because, like Minister Humphrey, I am relatively new to politics, and thank you very much. That was set for shorter people. I prefer to see you a little bit better. Come into Parliament, come into politics, come into Parliament, come into ministerial responsibility. I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I almost said brothers and sisters, but I said that earlier today when it was at church, and it was still inside of me. I have to tell you that you have, and I think you know it already, but I gotta say it because I never said it in St. Michael Northeast. You have a fantastic representative. The Barbados Labour Party has a fantastic leader, and Barbados has a great Prime Minister. And I say that after having said I didn't come here to praise Miss Montley, because I am not normally effusive in those kinds of ways. People call me a little bit more measured and not as emotional. But when you work with the Prime Minister, you don't have a choice. So those of us who are a little bit laid back feel empowered. I want to say something. I see in 50 Park somewhere, but I want to share a secret. I have said to a few people, and I said it publicly tonight, that I work for a slave driver. That's a serious statement. I didn't say that for you to laugh. I work for a slave driver. You say so too, St. Ford? But I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that my study of history makes my statement a little bit different. Because, and without downplaying or distorting history, including our history as black people, I have to tell you that in this case, the slave driver works harder than the slaves. And that is absolutely true. But tonight, I really came to share for a few minutes on the journey of the government so far from my perspective, and to share with you what I think our achievements are, what the challenges are that are still before us, and to echo the sentiments of the theme of tonight's meeting, which is Stay the Course. I got my results from the election of May 24th on the morning of the 25th. So when the Prime Minister was delivering the speech announcing that we had won, I was still winning. I was in Spite Sound, well, at the Cojan Parish School, coming up to 6 o'clock, waiting for the official word that I'd actually secured a seat and could be part of the team led by the Honorable Mayor Amor Montley. That was Friday morning. On Saturday morning, as a Seventh Adventist, I went to church. And as church was finishing, I was walking out the door. The Prime Minister called. I couldn't take the call in church, so I walked outside. But she asked me to join her cabinet. And I felt very, not shocked, but humbled that as a newbie, the Prime Minister thought that I could make some kind of contribution to her team, especially after having so many options. When you win 30 seats, as a matter of fact, I'm not sure I would want to be in her position, even though I may want to be. But when you have so many to choose from, it could present a problem for those of us who have been in leadership. And then I found out that we were going to be, the service, the program meant that we were going to be installed on the following day. And then she said, the social partnership is meeting 10 o'clock Monday morning. Now, I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that up to now, I have not been able to write a resignation from my last job. I have not written a resignation. But I mentioned that to get to the point that the Prime Minister, even so early on in her tenure, within hours, recognized that the social partnership was going to be integral, was going to be absolutely important if Barbados was going to move itself from the quagmire, from the quicksands that the last wicked government had left us in. If we were going to get out, we needed to be able to do it together. And so the whole idea that the Prime Minister had of rubbing shoulders, long before he got involved in politics, I saw people like Sainty Ford and others rubbing shoulders all over Barbados. And then I remembered the assemblies that we had. And I recognized when the Prime Minister called that first meeting that she was serious about working with people to make sure that we were able to build a Barbados, rebuild Barbados, and move Barbados forward. Ladies and gentlemen, the members of the social partnership, and I speak to that because it falls squarely within my portfolio, the members of the social partnership, workers and their representatives, businesses and their representatives, are almost giddy because they've had more meetings, and the chair knows what I mean, more meetings in 10 months than they had in 10 years. And not meetings for people to lord over them. That's a small L. I worship Big L today. But not for people to lord over them. And however the L is, you expect that if somebody is lording over you, they exhibit some kind of intelligence, some kind of sense. But they went through 10 years of people lording over them and taking them nowhere. No meaningful participation in the project of nation building. The members of the social partnership, in those first few meetings, you could see, ladies and gentlemen, the relief on their faces. Finally, they were able to be part of a construct, part of an organization where they could play a meaningful role, where they could be part of the process of rescuing the country. The Barbados Labour Party is a party that believes in people, believes in engaging people. One of my earliest recollections in terms of photographs is a picture of Sir Grantley Adams, then Grantley Adams, in cane fields with a suit on, talking to people who were cutting cane and tying cane and heading cane. And I recognized from way back then that the Labour Party was a party of the people. And I have come from St. Peter to tell you that the Barbados Labour Party has not lost its soul. The soul of the Barbados Labour Party remains. We are still a party of the people. We are still a party that engages with the people. We are still a party that recognizes that together we can build a better Barbados. We came to office and found that the burden of all previous adjustments, including an adjustment that was a former Labour Party adjustment, the 81-83 adjustment. But we recognize that those previous adjustments, where things weren't going too good, and you had to bring back Barbados, those previous adjustments centered on workers. Workers being displaced. Workers being separated from employment, especially in the public service, but also in the private sector. This Labour Party came to office determined that workers, the ordinary people of Barbados, would not bear the brunt of the adjustment that we all knew had to be made if Barbados was to be rescued. And so the Labour Party, coming into office with the skeleton of a plan, because we knew what we were facing. We didn't know it was so bad. Whenever we were meeting around the time of the estimates or the budget, I would sit listening to the gurus, and I always heard that the numbers in the estimates book were obviously pieces of fiction. In other words, the Dems were always liars. They always told a lot of lies. Always told a lot of lies. In the commandments, it would be called bearing false witness. The lying tongue. And the Bible also says that liars are of their father, the devil. Barbadians have recognized that and have condemned them to a form of hell. But the Labour Party recognized that the numbers did not make sense, and so set about creating a program that would rescue the country. And I want to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, this evening, that as the Labour Party refined its message, refined the program that was going to rescue the country, it engaged Barbadians. It engaged the members of the private sector. It also engaged the businesses, the members of trades unions, the workers of the country. In that program, the party recognized that if people, if workers were not to be bearing the brunt of the adjustment, then it meant that businesses had to, well, I want to say businesses because capital sometimes goes over people's heads. But we're talking about businesses. People who have supermarkets, hotels, manufacturing plants, all kinds of businesses. They would have to bear some of the burden. And so within the social partnership, we explained, and the Prime Minister explained, that we wanted them to be partners in this rescue effort. And businesses, I don't want to say kicking and screaming, but I think businesses in the social partnership understood that they had to bear some of the load, some of the burden. And so in the mini budget of June, the revenue raising measures included not just some measures that impacted ordinary people, but they included measures that included additional taxes on businesses, especially hotel businesses, tourism businesses, accommodation businesses. It also included measures on those who visit Barbados, because we believed that everybody had to partner in rescuing the country. And so departure taxes went up. And then the country, the government, we as government of the country, recognized that a significant portion, a really large portion of our expenditure has to do with servicing debt. And you know, the DEMS, and I don't know if there's a reason why debt begins with D and DEMS begin with D, but the DEMS took the debt from $6 million, I think, to almost $15 million. And what people in Barbados, what people in Barbados are asking up to today, what have they done with the money? After borrowing so much, you expect to see highways, you expect to see garbage trucks, you expect to see transport board buses, you expect to see schools, you would even expect to see an airport in St. Lucie. But after all of that debt, not even an airport in St. Lucie. You cannot even land a helicopter in St. Lucie. But a ballooning, an explosion of debt. And so this government, my government, your government, made a decision that those who held the debt, those who had linked to the country, to the government, should bear some of the burden as well. Especially given that banks and insurance companies had earned millions of dollars over the past 10 years. And so they were also asked to bear some of the burden. And it wasn't easy. One night, I chaired a meeting at Parliament, and we were trying to work out how the separations in the public sector would work. The Prime Minister and the Attorney General and a few others left to go to government headquarters to meet with the banks. Now, my meeting finished at a few minutes to midnight. When I got home, I had a shower. And when I came out, I checked my phone. And the Attorney General had posted a picture after midnight showing a biscuit, a piece of cheese, and a little Coke in a bottle. And he said, "We still here fighting with the banks." I came to speak very seriously, but since I'm in St. Michael Northeast, I have to tell you something about your MP. She recognizes, I'm going to get back to the adjustment and the adjustment process, but I have to tell you, since I mentioned that biscuit and cheese, that I think your member of Parliament is taking this bad economy a little bit too far. Biscuits and cheese now feature regularly in meetings, but she understands that times are tough and that you can't always have cheese cutters. Sometimes you have to have biscuits and cheese. But that night, I just use that as an example to indicate to you that the Prime Minister, as the Minister of Finance, Economic Affairs and Investment, recognizing that capital, businesses, and those who held the debt also had a role to play, spent many days and many nights fighting with bankers, trying to get them to understand that they too had a role in rescuing the country. And ladies and gentlemen, I would almost say, as usual, she was successful. Because if she did not get financial institutions on board, then in order to really rescue the country, many thousands of workers would have to have been separated from the public sector. And ladies and gentlemen, that is not what a Labour Party is about. She didn't want it. None of us wanted it. Because it is not in the DNA of the Labour Party to be sending home people. We are a party born out of the struggle of workers. We were born in 1938 after our great leader, who they call Moses, recognized that the people were suffering. They weren't receiving a living wage. This party is a true Labour Party. Not like the other one that seems to see as its role the creation of poverty. Because anytime you come to office and you can go from driving a small car to a BMW in 1 or 2 years, no loan, no mortgage, you can build apartments, but you turn around and cut the reverse tax credit in half from $1,300 to $650, a reverse tax credit that poor people benefited from, but you live in large and poor people suffering. And then you impose tax after tax after tax after tax after tax, and people not seeing the benefits. Then you can't be a Labour Party. You are a disgrace to the word. You are a party determined to keep poor people poor and make middle class people poor while you live in high. I don't want to say on the hog because I don't believe in hog, but high on the hog. That is the Dems. But this party is a true Labour Party. And so the Barbados Labour Party has fought hard to ensure that displacement in the public sector was kept to a minimum. And I have to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, there are some who have been concerned that displacement, the persons who were sent home, happened so late in the year, October, coming into independence. I want to say to you that we, in an effort to reduce the numbers of persons who were displaced, wanted to know for sure what the agreement would be with the holders of debt. And because those negotiations, those fights were so intense and took so long, then we did not know until relatively late how many persons would have to be separated from the public sector. It was not anything that caused us any joy. As a matter of fact, it caused quite a bit of pain. And in that regard, I want to tell you something else. I don't think she told me it as a secret, but the Prime Minister and I were speaking one Friday afternoon. It was the Friday before she made a press statement at the lower court when she announced that persons would be separated from the public sector, from employment with the public sector. And she said to me, Colin, you work in the private sector. You have been in situations where people have gone home before. She said to me, the unions have been in situations where they've had to manage people going home before. she said to me, I have never had to send home anybody. Now that afternoon, the afternoon of Sunday, was the afternoon of the AGM in St. Peter. But I recognize that the whole process of separating people from employment was weighing heavily on the representative for St. Michael Northeast. And I told my branch, I'm going to get to the meeting late because I felt I needed to go to Illawarra Court to stand in solidarity with my leader. But I say that to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, that the process of having to send people home, the process, the whole fact that people lost their jobs is one of the most painful things that this Barbados Labour Party has had to endure since coming to office. And that is why we are working so hard. And I see Minister Cadell, who is Minister in the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Investment, who's been working really, really hard getting investment to come to the country. Because we recognize that people who have lost their jobs feel insecure. They're not sure what's going to happen. They don't know what they're going to do in terms of sending their children to school. They feel bad. And we recognize that. And when we say that no more than 1,500 persons will go home, we're not saying that just to call a number. We recognize that each of those is a person, often with dependents. And we are working hard to make sure that the investment comes to Barbados so that people can get employment, especially those who have been displaced. And so there have been a number of initiatives coming out of the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Investment. The change in town planning legislation. I worked in hotels most of my life. And the whole matter of sending an application into town planning to be able to renovate or to build something takes 2, 3, 4, sometimes 7 and 8 years. Now we have within 6 or 7 months, as a result of the work of the Prime Minister and Minister Cadell and some others, new planning legislation that allows for much quicker processing. Because this government means business. This government is about looking after people. This government is about rebuilding what the Dems mash up. Investment has to happen because government cannot do it alone. And this government is not a proud, aloof kind of government. Prime Minister says it all the time. We cannot do it alone. And just as we engage people, just as we engage in rubbing shoulders and having people's assemblies, we also engage with private sector partners because they have to help us. We also engage with the faith-based community, churches and other institutions of faith, because they have to help us. The process of building a nation, of rebuilding, has to be done as a collaborative effort. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this government is not a government of austerity. As a matter of fact, as I said yesterday, bus fares have gone up. Land taxes for some have gone up. But the reverse tax credit has been increased. And there have been a number of other measures put in place. Because as a government, we understand and we believe that even as additional burdens are placed on people, people also have to have the opportunity for a little relief. This government is about people. We have started a journey of recovery. Many persons already feel lighter because when the Dems were in office, you could feel the weight. You could feel the pressure. People feel lighter. But ladies and gentlemen, this is not the time to believe that we have arrived. We have to stay the course. And I like the Prime Minister's analogy because it is one that almost all of us can identify with. You feel sick, you go to the doctor, you take some tablets, and you start to feel better. And then you believe you can stop taking the tablets. This is not the time to stop taking the tablets. We are on course for economic recovery. But this economic recovery is a journey. It is a journey that all of us is involved with. And ladies and gentlemen, I've come tonight to say to you that even though sometimes the journey may be rough, sometimes it may feel that we are on the roads that the Dems left, trying to decide which pothole to drop into. Even though it feels rough and jerky sometimes, we are on a journey. We are on a journey that we are absolutely confident will lead to the recovery of this country. We want you to stay the course with us. You have given to us a significant mandate. You give us all the seats. You said, sorry, St. Michael West. I thought you said Judas. Even St. Michael West. You gave us all the seats. You give us all the seats. You give us a mandate. You understood that we were better placed to manage the recovery. We are in recovery mode. We want you to stay the course with us because together we can get there. Together we can rescue and rebuild the country. Under our leader, Mayor Amor Montley, the Prime Minister of Barbados, we will get there. Ladies and gentlemen, stay the course. Stand with us. Help us to rebuild Barbados. Stand with the Prime Minister. Stand with the government. Together, we can do it. Together, we will do it. Because together, we must do it for our country, Barbados. Good night. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen.
Definitely. The Honorable Colin Jordan, MP for St. Peter, Minister of Labor, Social Partnership Relations. Now, I don't know if you're going to agree with me, but I suspect you will. Minister Jordan was inspired. He was focused. He was on point. I've never heard him like this. I have to believe it has to do with him attending church today. Today being his Sabbath. So I'm going to say to St. Michael Northeast Executive, when you need Minister Jordan again, bring him after the Sabbath. Very good. Very good. Another round of applause. This is first time in St. Michael Northeast. Very good. And yes, there's a relation between St. Michael Northeast and St. Peter, as we heard this evening. Comrades, remember our theme tonight. I began this evening by saying to us that even the atmosphere feels different. The breeze feels different. There's a difference. We all can feel it. That even nature is responding to what is going on. The fact is, we are on the road to recovery. We are on the road to rebuilding this economy. And you've heard it from speaker after speaker this evening. And you can also see from our policies see from our programs. I heard someone in the audience make the point, it has already started to take effect. And so the final speaker before our Prime Minister comes this evening is a very close friend of St. Michael Northeast. Very close friend. I remember throughout the elections, our parliamentary representative, Prime Minister would say to us, we have to make sure that we bring along St. Michael West Central. Whatever we're doing in St. Michael Northeast, we must make sure that we bring along St. Michael West Central. Not only did we bring along St. Michael West Central, we brought along all other 28. But it is my pleasure. I've worked with him throughout many a campaign. I've worked with him as I sat on National Council as one of the assistant general secretaries there and coordinating the annual general meeting and so on. And I had the pleasure of working with this comrade. And not only within the party, but also within the private sector. I've known him as an HR practitioner, HR professional within the tourism sector. He is a very competent individual when it comes to human resource issues. And I know that as he continues to lead the National Insurance Scheme and participate in so many other fora, that he would bring his skills to bear in our recovery effort. Members of St. Michael Northeast, members of the Barbados Labour Party family, help me in welcoming tonight our comrade, the Honorable Ian Gooding-Edgell. I see West Central in the house. Ian Gooding-Edgell to come and address us at this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening to the family of the Barbados Labour Party, the entire family. I want also to say that I bring greetings to the branch of St. Michael Northeast from next door. That is the branch of St. Michael West Central. And we have some of our people here this evening. Forgive me for not coming in my battlefield color or not. Forgive me for not having, as I would call it, the battle hymn of the Republic symbol. I apologize to you because to come here and stand before you not wearing red, it is not in my DNA. So I apologize, but I had to go to a funeral. And I left the funeral and I came all the way down here. So I apologize for my late arrival as well. But I really want to thank the branch for inviting me to share a few words with you this evening. This week has been a wonderful week. A wonderful, wonderful week. You've seen your Member of Parliament, proud to call her your Prime Minister today, who stood on the floor of Parliament for 5 hours and 35 minutes and delivered without boring you and boring the country a speech so inspirational, a speech complete with details. In fact, sometimes, and you know her better than we do, she didn't even have to refer to her notes on the iPad. She was able to deliver it from memory. And you know, it is true. Because in this very area, in the corridor, as I refer to it, the Barbados Labour Party has had some of its finest leaders. The road separates, it serves as a boundary. Just a boundary line for political reasons. But when you go further up in her constituency, you would see that the right excellent Sir Herbert Grantley Adams, pioneer and leader of the Barbados Labour Party. His son Tom Adams, came through and served the Barbados Labour Party. And now, a few yards down the hill, you have your own who will also be, at the end of the first term, will demonstrate what inspirational leadership is about. She will demonstrate what economic leadership is about. And she will conclude with financial leadership of this country. So you have in your representative the Prime Minister, a very capable person. And she will set and continue to maintain that high standard that the Right Excellent Sir Grantley Adams led in this area. The very high standards that Tom Adams had for this country. So within this corridor, like I said, you have some of the finest Labour Party leaders. And she is on her way to become one of the finest prime ministers from within this area as well. You know, former leaders and prime ministers of the Barbados Labour Party have always had to come and repair the damage done to the economy by the Democratic Labour Party. I don't know if it is the fate of the Barbados Labour Party, ladies and gentlemen, but every time we take government, we have got to come in. We've got to take corrective action, urgent action, ladies and gentlemen, to stave off a devaluation, to stop people from going home in their numbers, ladies and gentlemen, to repair the roads, ladies and gentlemen, and to build back the economy. I don't know if it is our lot. But whether it is our lot or not, ladies and gentlemen, once again, the task falls to the Barbados Labour Party. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, the Barbados Labour Party continues to rise above it. So whatever hand the Democratic Labour Party left us, and we know the hand that they left us. But you know what? As I always tell the constituents of St. Michael West Central, this is the job that we signed up for. And this is the job that we are going to conquer. Because this country needs the Barbados Labour Party no more than at any other time in its history of Barbados. I said on the floor of Parliament that this crisis is about 4 times the crisis that we faced when we took charge of the administration back in 1994. It is about 4 times. I said the heavy lifting that we have got to carry on this occasion, ladies and gentlemen, was about 4 times. And I meant it. And when you see a team of men and women at work in the cabinet, the economic advisors and other people who constitute the development team for Barbados, you have to say to them, thank you. Because as Colin Jordan said earlier, they work hard. And I said it on the floor of Parliament too, that they work overtime, including your Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen. But you know why she's doing it? She's determined to do it. Not only because she knows she has to do it, but it is part of the Barbados Labour Party's legacy to do good, to lift our people out of poverty, and to ensure we have a better quality of life for all Barbadians, ladies and gentlemen. And she's done a terrific job. I say to you that the problems that we are faced with are severe, they are deep. And they're so severe, ladies and gentlemen, that we find ourselves in a position that we've had situations to deal with that we've never had to deal with years gone by. And it is a fact. And what are we faced with today? The Prime Minister came to office with her team. Debt to GDP, 175%. Sounds like a small number to some people. But when you have debt racing at 175% against GDP, you are on course for devaluation. You are on course for devaluation. The country's on course. And what did your Prime Minister, your parliamentary representative did? She came in, she took charge, and in short order she went to work. She delivered a budget June 11th, 2018, the first budget. And she said to you, I am going to move the debt to GDP ratio from 175%, 70%, to 125% within 5 years. Can I tell you, brilliant as she is, let me tell you what she's done, because this means a lot. And this is what we have to continue to let the people of Barbados know as we canvass, as we traverse Barbados. Your Prime Minister, your parliamentary representative, the one you trust and continue to trust, within 10 months, ladies and gentlemen, moved the debt to GDP ratio from 170%, ladies and gentlemen, to 125. Can you believe it? Sorry, to 115%. Sorry, 115%. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Now, we are faced with a government and we are managing a government 10 months old, you know. And she said to you in her June 11th budget that she's going to lower it. But within 10 months, ladies and gentlemen, we are 10% within the target set by your parliamentary representative and our Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen. Well, if she got to pay White Oak, if she has to pay consultants, and they have to move the debt from 170% to where it is today, then we've got to pay. Because we are not wasting money. People aren't lining their pockets with money. They are working and working hard on behalf of this country. Because you know what the reality is? Had we not moved with some speed, I'm going to alacrity and speed, ladies and gentlemen, this country would have been faced with some dire positions that would have been so difficult for you, the average person, to live and to maintain a good standard of living. And I say to you, that is what your Prime Minister, your parliamentary representative did within 10 months. Ladies and gentlemen, let me also tell you what she did within the 10 months. NSRL, that the Democratic Labour Party had on your backs and drawing in excess of 150 million in one go. Your Prime Minister came to Parliament in her first budget with the confidence of a leader, with the inspiration and the troops behind her. And she said, promise made, promise kept. NSRL removed $150 million in taxation off the backs of the people of Barbados. But she went further, ladies and gentlemen. And she decided that after 9 years, when you, the public servants, didn't have a wage increase, that it was time for you to have a wage increase. And she went to the Parliament and she announced it in her budget. And you got it August 1, a 5% increase after 9.5 years under the Democratic Labour Party, and you couldn't get one damn cent from them. That is what we've done. Not only fixing the economy, but putting money back in your pockets. And I say to you that she went further again along. And in this budget, she said to you, I am going to give you some tax relief. I want to put some more money back into your pockets. And she increased the reverse tax credit. And she said to you that those of you who had claimed spending, in addition to the money that we would have paid out in income tax return earlier, late last year, or into the new year, she elected to ensure that 64,000 households in Barbados would benefit from $1,000 cash. $1,000 cash payment for those who were awaiting tax returns in Barbados. That is what your Prime Minister did. And you know what she also did? And I'm going to go through all the tax bans. But every taxpayer in this country who pays income tax will realize from July 1 that they will have a reduction in their income tax. More money in your pockets, ladies and gentlemen. That is what your Prime Minister has done. And it is a fact. Foreign reserves that we had struggling and could even make ground and perhaps going into very dangerous territory. Today, ladies and gentlemen, through a combination of borrowings and earnings, up $1.1 billion. When we left office in the Barbados Labour Party in 2008, we left $1.3 billion in reserves after 3 terms in office, ladies and gentlemen. And within 10 months, well, the Dems destroyed it. But we left $1.3 billion in foreign reserves after 3 terms in office. Within 10 months, $1.1 billion in foreign reserves. But tell me, but Prime Minister is underpaid. She would have to be underpaid for this stellar performance. And you know she's not motivated by money. She's doing this for love of country. But I just said to you that she reduced the debt to GDP ratio and brought it within 10% when she set a 5-year goal. I just made a point to you. But it took a Barbados Labour Party government 3 terms and they left $1.3 billion in foreign reserves. It has taken the Barbados Labour Party government 10 months to build $1.1 billion in reserves. We are on our way. So that when we tell you stay the course, we are not saying to you that we've strung together some words and tell you to stay the course. We are telling you stay the course because the Barbados economy is on its way and it is going to grow, ladies and gentlemen. And when this economy grows, you know that every one of us in Barbados will benefit from the growth. Before the chairman gives me the signal, I really want to talk about the Transport Board. And I said on the floor of Parliament that I empathize with the people, especially the low income earners who will have to pay increased bus fare. I empathize. But the Barbados Labour Party once again was given this hand. And we've got to manage. But let me tell you what happened. Can you imagine that a Democratic Labour Party government would have allowed $500 million to be accumulated in debt at the fiscal deficits at the Transport Board over 10 years? $500 million plus dollars. $500 million. They allow that to go unaddressed. And as a result of it, we now have to fix the problem. We also faced with a problem that when we took office, bus availability, they had about 40 or 50 buses. Don't let them fool you. When the Barbados Labour Party left office in 2008, you had bus availability upwards of 200 buses and going. We inherit a situation. So what happens if you're faced with a situation where you have accumulated deficits of $500 million? We have to address it. Because you know what? At the end of the day, who pays for it? The taxpayers. You wouldn't feel comfortable having to fund $500 million over 10 years. You wouldn't feel comfortable having to fund an annual subsidy to the Transport Board of about $65 or $70 million because you, the taxpayer. It's all right to say the government, but it's good to say the government, but that the taxpayers must finance the government. So the cost will come to you. And I say to you, yes, it is difficult. And we understand that. But I know that the Prime Minister cares. And I know that she will have something to offer. And sooner rather than later, when our financial situation improves, I am sure she is going to do something for you, the workers of Barbados. I am confident about that. But I'm also going to tell you that you have a situation where the Transport Board the Democratic Labour Party left the Transport Board in a state of horror, ladies and gentlemen. And I can tell you what they had intended for you, the people of Barbados. They refused to follow the Barbados Labour Party's policy that we left. And I can speak with authority because I was chairman of the Transport Board. That we left a fleet replacement policy. Had the Democratic Labour Party continue the fleet replacement policy, we would not be in this situation that we are faced with. But I want you to remember something. Back in 1994, when the Barbados Labour Party came to office, it's almost as though history is repeating itself. When the Barbados Labour Party came to office in 1994, how many buses do you think they had out there? They were struggling about 46 buses. And when I tell you that this is the hand that we've been dealt with, ladies and gentlemen, this is the hand that we've been dealt with. So once again, after they had 10 years in office, and after we had 3 terms, almost 23 years ago, we are back to the same place we were 23 years ago. 46 buses or less than 50 buses. And that is the hand that they have left for the Barbados Labour Party. But we can deal with it. But I want to talk to you about bus fares. And I empathize again. But I want you to know that the Dems were considering 2 years before the election, the last general election, they were considering increasing the bus fares. But you know, I had the information. I had the information long before them. And I was waiting for them. They went out there and they were calculating bus fares. They had a document known as the Statement of Intent. And in that Statement of Intent, you heard the Prime Minister made reference to it during the budget. And that is why I posed the question to the management of the Transport Board in the Well of Parliament as part of our new Standing Finance Committee. And I said to them, I asked them the question, was there a plan to increase bus fares, ladies and gentlemen? And they respond in the affirmative, and they told you the number. That's a fact. That is a fact. But this is the hand that we've been dealt with. But we are going to fix it, ladies and gentlemen. We also have a plan for you. And let's face it, we are going to ensure that we have sufficient buses within short time to deal with the public transport issue. We are going to ensure that we have a managed transport system with all the players to ensure that we bring relief to you, ladies and gentlemen. That is what we're going to do. But I also want to tell you that even though we've made strides in terms of reducing debt to the GDP, even though we have built up the reserves, we have more plans for you. Because we are going to get involved in some serious hotel construction in Barbados. There's going to be a tourism investment conference in Barbados next month. And as part of that investment conference, you are going to see people who are coming to Barbados who are prepared to make substantial investments. And ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Prime Minister, your Member of Parliament for St. Michael Northeast, Mayor Amor Montley. Yeah. And I want to assure you that the hotel investment that will come to Barbados will ensure that you have jobs. Not like the Democratic Labour Party will come and promise you 5 brand name hotels in 5 years or 10 brand name hotels in 10 years. Not like them. We are going to have hotels. And I also say to you that as chairman of the National Insurance that I have, the Prime Minister gave me the honor to lead it. Big job. But we also have a commitment to ensure that you, the insured population in Barbados, also benefit. And there are some things that we have to do. Not like investing in government paper. And well, on that subject, I want to tell you this. You know, the Democratic Labour Party used to pay your national insurance contributions, the non-contributory pensions in paper. In paper, ladies and gentlemen. They used to pay in paper. I am pleased to tell you tonight that the government of Barbados paid the non-contributory pension in cash, and they're up to date, ladies and gentlemen. That is what your Prime Minister, that is what your Prime Minister has done. She's also ensured that all the buildings, Baobab Towers, the Warrens 2 Tower, the CXC headquarters, all of those, ladies and gentlemen, rents paid up and paid up in cash, ladies and gentlemen. Statutory corporations paying in cash, no more paper. Can't pay people with paper. You have to have cash. And national insurance is awash with cash now because your Prime Minister took an important decision. And she said, no longer will we be trading in paper. We are going to pay you in cash so you can get on with your investment program. And I thank her for that. When we talk about housing, well, we know what the Dems did. It was in their interest to do certain things. But our interest is your interest. Our interest is about helping you. Our interest is about lifting you out of poverty. Our interest is about ensuring you, the people of Barbados, enjoy a better quality of life. That is our interest. That is the Prime Minister's interest. When we campaigned throughout this constituency, and we told you that Mayor cares, it's a fact. And we can see it today. You can see what she's doing for this country. And when we start next year at the same time, when you start to see this country moving, you are going to say, oh my Lord, why didn't we do this here maybe a long time ago? You can ask yourself why we didn't have Mayor Amor Morley as our Prime Minister a long time ago, ladies and gentlemen, because we are going to do good for you, the people of Barbados. And you know, their Prime Ministers and former Barbados Labour Party leaders and Prime Ministers have always come, like I told you, and they've had to repair the devastation left behind by the former Democratic Labour Party government. And I say to you that the Prime Minister has put her hand to the task and she continues to work hard. And you know, Prime Ministers are known for things. We know what Grantley Adams did for us. We know what JMG Adams did for us. We knew what Owen did for us. But ladies and gentlemen, can I tell you that your Prime Minister, the Honorable Mayor Amor Morley, what she's doing, she's now taking Barbados digital in a fulsome way. Watch and see. You know, she said, give me the vote on watch me. You know, I told you already about foreign reserves. Your dollar is no longer in peril. In fact, I can say so. I'm not the Minister of Finance, but I can say so. Your dollar is out of harm's way tonight. But I also know that she's leading the digitization effort in Barbados in a fulsome way. And as a result of that, ladies and gentlemen, you watch and see how many jobs are going to be created in Barbados. In fact, you know that is the way the world is going now. Digitalization. There are jobs to come. And when those jobs come, ladies and gentlemen, you and your children and grandchildren will be the benefit of those jobs. And I say to you, in addition to the digitization platform that we are building, we are also helping to conserve the environment, ladies and gentlemen. What a wonderful thing we are doing. Your Prime Minister is hard at work. So that when we say to you, stay on course, you know what we're telling you? We are saying to you to stay on course because we don't want a Democratic Labour Party government again to take us close to the border of devaluation. We are saying to you, stay in the course because we want public servants and private sector workers to get salary increases when they're due, not to have to wait 9.5 years for a wage increase, ladies and gentlemen. We are saying to you, stay the course because we want good governance, not bad governance, ladies and gentlemen. We don't want bad governance again. We are saying to you, stay the course because we don't want another 22 downgrades from the international financial community. We don't want that, ladies and gentlemen. We are saying to you, stay the course because we don't want to go back to the lack of infrastructure that we've had to endure in this country during the last 10 years that the Democratic Labour Party was in office. Look around. You're seeing progress today thanks to the Barbados Labour Party. Roads right across Stadium Road. Roads that you never thought would have gotten so bad, ladies and gentlemen. Those roads are being repaired today. Those roads are being repaired, and those that can't be repaired are being patched. Even in St. Michael West Central, I am getting some patchwork done until we can start the new roads, ladies and gentlemen. That is what we want. When we say to you that we are going to stay the course, we are going to stay the course because we don't want large deficits. We don't want our country at risk. We don't want people to be laughing at us. And we say we want you to stay on course because we want a Prime Minister who will communicate with you and with wider Barbados, ladies and gentlemen. And she's done an excellent job. So I say to you, the Barbados Labour Party continues to do a good job. Stay the course with us because that is the only way we know how to bring good to you. We know what we have to do. We have a plan to rebuild Barbados. And I say to you, there will be some detractors, but some of them will only try to detract us from our mission. But they're fooling themselves. Because, truth be told, we are on a mission. And the mission is to rebuild this Barbados economy. When you look around, like you, I travel, and when you go places, it's very refreshing to hear people tell you, I'm glad you had a change in government. There are people who tell you that when you travel, and that's not idle talk. They're telling you it because, like you, they believe in Barbados. And they know that Barbados can do better. And they know that Barbados will do better, ladies and gentlemen, because the cabinet that your Prime Minister assembled, the team of economic advisors around her, ladies and gentlemen, when you look around, you have to give it to the Prime Minister for what an outstanding job she has done within 10 months. I dare anybody to challenge the Barbados Labour Party on its 10-month record. But it seems as though the work that the Prime Minister and her team that we have done, you might say that we've done 10 years of work. Because when you can build reserves at $1.1 billion in 10 months, and it took a former Barbados Labour Party administration 13 years, you might say she has worked more than 10 years already. And that is what it is. And I want the country to hear this and to understand this. And even though we've got to rebuild it, I know that you are going to get relief because the pace that this administration is moving at is an unbelievable pace. But we've got to work hard. We've got to work at this pace, ladies and gentlemen, because we've got to save Barbados. And that is what we're about. So I say to you, stay the course with us. I have set out reasons why you should stay the course. I've also said to you and I've highlighted what this Barbados Labour Party has done within 10 months. I mean, good Lord, it would have taken another administration years to do what we've done. And I'm a member of this team. I'm a proud member of the Barbados Labour team, the Barbados Labour Party team. I'm a proud member to be going into the Parliament of Barbados representing the interests of St. Michael West Central, but more broadly, representing the interests of Barbados, ladies and gentlemen. And I say to you, your government, your elected members of Parliament, those in the Senate are working hard on your behalf, and they do so daily. Yes, we have many challenges to overcome, but we shall overcome, ladies and gentlemen. And we are going to overcome and surpass them, ladies and gentlemen. And I say to you, I am so excited about the future of Barbados under Barbados Labour Party government. I am so excited for what lies ahead, ladies and gentlemen. I am so motivated. And I am very motivated because I know that our people will get help. I know that our circumstances will change. So I say to you, as I close, that, and always remember this, Terracotta, Spooners Hill, delivered a fine premier, a good man, former Prime Minister of the West Indies Federation, a solid individual, one of our national heroes, the right excellent Sir Herbert Grantley Adams. Barbados also had the benefit of the same man that came from the same area. And people who come from Long Gap and Spooners Hill and Bashall and Boer Road and Codrington Hill and Story Gap, Mahika and Green Hill and so on, they will know what I'm talking about. That area produced a fine Prime Minister, J.M.G. Adams, God rest him. A fine Prime Minister. He too came in with challenges. But you know what? He revolutionized Barbados. He brought industrialization to Barbados that was never witnessed before. And I say to you that, you know, Mayor Morley comes further down the hill. I too come from Long Gap, Spooners Hill too, I must tell you. But when you go further down the hill here, down the hill to the bridge, Extreme Village, Mayor Amor Mortley comes from within the district, ladies and gentlemen. And I say to you, Long Gap, Spooners Hill, Terracotta, through the bridge, Extreme Village, produce fine leaders. And I say to you tonight that your parliamentary representative, the person that you repose confidence in for what, almost more than 25 years? Almost 30 years. The fine lady that you repose confidence to serve you in Parliament, that she too, ladies and gentlemen, will fall into that category of some of the finest and traditional leaders of the Barbados Labour Party. You are grateful and you are lucky to have such an eminent person, to have such a person who, I must confess, is full of energy, and a lady who is quick on the draw when it comes to brain matter, ladies and gentlemen. Quick. Cabinet got to keep pace with her because she's always ahead. And I say to you that in keeping with the finest traditions of Parliament and fine leaders, I say to you, you have no choice, ladies and gentlemen, but to ensure you give her at least another 10 years in Parliament. At least, you hear what I say? At least another 10 years in Parliament. And I want you, I know she believes in term limits. I want you to have a change of mind on that. And I want you, for as long as God should bless her and give her breath and good health, I want you to ensure that she remains there in Parliament for all of us, so that she can continue to lead the troops within the Barbados Labour Party to a successful path, ladies and gentlemen. I feel it, like I tell you, in my bones. I know where we are going because I know where we have come from. And I say to you, in the finest traditions of the Barbados Labour Party, we will ensure that there's a better quality of life for all Barbadians. All Barbadians, because our leader, the Honorable Mayor Amor Mali, has done a first-class job, an excellent job, ladies and gentlemen, within a short time. It gives, we share a border. And before I leave, I have to share the story. We share the border, and what Senator Holder said, Lynette Holder said, is true. We were at LTGA school at meetings, and then we came over here for meetings as well. And wherever we go, she would tell us, she would tell the others over here in her branch, make sure you bring home Ian Gadenedjel. I can't do it alone. And it's a lovely thing to share this border, because Lynette and all the others will tell you, even during the general election campaign, don't care where I am. And Lynette called me, or members of the campaign team called me and tell me, Ian, I need you down here by Queen Bishop. I am here even to open the button. And I remember we had a meeting down there and we rocked the place. I remember during the heat of the campaign, we went up in Friendship. Had a big meeting up there. It's what you call a local meeting. And when you have a prime minister, and I really got to say to all the residents and the voters down here, thank you very much. Because when you have a leader, she has to traverse the whole island. She has to go and speak for everybody. Almost 4 meetings, 5 meetings a night. And I know that you made sure that you stayed with your member of parliament. And you allowed her to be shared with the other members of the team, the other 29 members, so that she will go and bat a hand for us. And I must thank you, the members of this branch, from the bottom of my heart, for helping me to come home next door, ladies and gentlemen. And I say thank you. And I say a warm thank you. But I want to say thank you for sharing her with us during the campaign, so that she would have been able to come down to that wonderful meeting that we had at Clevedale. And oh yes, it was a wonderful meeting, ladies and gentlemen. So that when I tell you from the depth of my heart, I thank you and I thank her, I mean it. Ladies and gentlemen, you didn't only come here to hear Minister Indarware, Minister Kurt Humphrey, Minister Colin Jordan, and certainly not me. You came to hear your parliamentary representative. A wonderful lady. A woman who can connect with the kings but can come down here and connect with us. A lady who's worked hard and very hard, infatigably hard on your behalf. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you your parliamentary representative, your Prime Minister, the Honorable Mayor Amor Mali.
What a speech, what an evening of speeches. Good evening, ladies. Good night. Good night. That's rain coming down. Boy, there ain't nothing that I do that don't be accompanied by rain. From the night of September 6, 1994, when the skies opened up and we had to come through Waterford Bottom in about 2 foot of water, we knew that every significant event in my political career would be accompanied by showers. I say of showers of blessing. Good night to you all. This has been a long week. And I think you've heard my voice more than you need to have heard it this week with a long speech. But it wasn't a long speech alone, contrary to what some of the atmospheric noise would have you hear. They said it was a lot of long talk, but it was a lot of long action too. And the bottom line is that in spite of it being a very long week, we have come here this evening to come home to Bush Hall, to St. Michael Northeast, because I'm conscious that this is probably the first public meeting that we're having. We had an internal AGM, but this is the first real public meeting that we've had since the elections. And I want to thank Indar, Kurt, Colin, and of course Ian, who all spoke like star batsmen this evening. But I also want to thank Cynthia and Marcia and Sandra and William Dugard. I saw them earlier here, and I thank them for coming out and to help us stay the course in St. Michael Northeast and to help carry some of the weight as we are not going to disperse immediately after my speech, because we will have some music and some refreshments and some fellowship, as is always the St. Michael Northeast way. But I just want to share a few words with you this evening before we reach there. We know the hour is late. And that's what happens when you got a star-studded cast. I think my branch felt that they needed to make up for the absence of meetings and put everybody on one time. But the truth is that it's not everybody, because in this Labour Party, as we are now learning in Parliament, we have a number of sides, and we can open up with any side that you want and still win any match that you want. But I want to speak to two things very quickly this evening. One, I've come to speak first to the people of St. Michael Northeast and to yet again thank you for continuing to allow me to do my job, not just within this constituency, but within the country and within the region. Because all politics is local. And without your support, without your prayers, without your work, to my executive, to the branch, and to the wider people of St. Michael Northeast, this is family. The next time we probably will gather on this spot will be in July. And for those who have good memories, July will mark the 30th year with which I was associated with this community and this constituency. Unlike others, I don't celebrate my relationship with you by reason of success. I celebrate my relationship with you by reason of when I first met you and when we first started working together. And I was nominated in July 1989. And July 2019 will come to mark fully 3 decades. For those of you who don't know, and Princess and Everton are still here next door. Douglas Smith and Olive left us very recently, regrettably. Betty is still there in Civilian Road. Carmen Grimes has long passed us, but her children are still with us. Margaret Headley is telling me she's still there, but Darnley Crow and Dick and all of them have passed. The bottom line is that as they have passed too, as I went in the office just now, I saw the Young Turks, Ms. Gill, your granddaughter, Lisa's daughter, a number of youngsters. I watched Nathan. And it is almost like really a relay race. A relay race. Because I felt as though when I came out here, and we used to stand under that breadfruit tree on a evening after canvassing, and Douglas Smith would hold me. I won't go somewhere. He said, you can't go yet, I am talking to you. I humble yourself. I want Marshall and Kirk and all the rest to hear. And I had to humble myself and just sit and listen. And Princess would do breadfruit stretch out most of the time for me, because that's what I used to like, was Little Bull Joe. But the bottom line was that in those moments, I learned the history of the Labour Party. Because for those of you who don't know, Douglas Smith was Grantley Adams' driver. And Douglas Smith therefore regaled me with the stories of what it took to build this great party, of the danger, of the nights going down through the country, no street lights in those days, and a man who threatened the stability of the plantocracy and the threats that came with it. The extent to which he would stay there with Grace Lady Adams, on a night when Sir Grantley was traveling and Tom was a little boy. And he would have to stay to help protect them. This is long before Grantley became a premier. Before 1951, he was talking about the late 1930s and the early 1940s. And I appreciated then that what we were fighting for was a cause much larger than all of us. And with every decade of my career, I understood that the hardest part is to remain focused, because people would want to distract you from the mission of building this country to be the best that it could be, and allowing Barbadians of all backgrounds to be the best that they could be. Some got on the train in the 50s and 60s. Some got on the train in the 70s and 80s. Some got on the train in the 90s. Some had to wait till the new century broke out. And many who got on it lost and almost get kicked off the train in the last decade. But we have come to tell you that we've not lost sight of our focus. And very often a train sometimes doesn't get to travel on a flat road, flat bridge, flat tracks. That the train sometimes has tracks that go up the hill, and however slight the gradient, as we learnt with the railway here in St. Peter in your constituency, Colin, only 2 weeks ago that I launched, that there is a challenge in a train taking a gradient. Just as there's a challenge with human beings climbing a mountain. You get winded. The train has pressure because the train needs more energy to move. And what has exactly happened is that we have faced a number of challenges in this country. But we cannot lose sight of the focus, which is to allow people to be able to see a better tomorrow and to build a better life for their family. It has to be about giving you choice. The moment you don't have choice is the moment you become somebody else's victim. And when I hear a lot of atmospheric noise, because that's all you could call it, because to elevate it to anything more would be to give them credibility as being equal. And I think it was Marshall who spoke about being unequally yoked, I'm told, in the debate, and Kirk who talked about the LIAT trying to make a transatlantic flight. But I'm not even talking about poor him. I'm talking about the wider atmospheric pressure. The people who feel that they must say something to oppose for the sake of opposing. The people who feel that they must form words that bear no relationship to action. The people who want to tell you that this party is not about poor people or working class people or Bajans. And I say, what utter nonsense. When it was we were telling you that we could do things to help people who can least help themselves in this country. And who is it that can least help themselves in Barbados? is elderly people who may not be able to work because of age, because of infirmity, because of disability, because of all other kinds of reasons. And they never had a national insurance pension coming to them. Ian would tell you that if, as chairman of the NIS, that those people who are not entitled to a national insurance pension are the ones who get the least. And we said to you that these people do not deserve to live on $145 every 2 weeks, that we didn't know how they could make it. And that we would see our way to give them $225 every fortnight. And they say it can't happen. They say we're going to break the NIS. They say all kinds of things. People who we thought would know better because they were on the journey with us too. But they chose to get off the journey for whatever purpose and reason. And I said to you, give us the vote. Give me the vote and Watchman. Let us not forget what this government has done to ease the pain, to help people to live. I have not come here to talk about foreign reserves. Ian spoke about that and others. I come here to speak even about debt. I have come here to speak to you. And that's why I ask you to stay the course. Because sometimes when you have a long journey, and when you start to walk up the hill, you might have to pause and stop. And before you start the journey, that's what I told everyone, the country, the IMF, everyone. Give people a good breakfast before they go on a long journey. And for the pensioners, we gave them a $70 increase. When else in the Commonwealth? Where else in the Commonwealth? I challenge anybody in the Caribbean to tell me where else a government put the needs of the most vulnerable of its senior citizens and decide that they are going to give them almost a 50% increase in their pension to that magnitude. And every single 2 weeks since July 1st, you're getting it. This is the same government that turned around and said, you see your children? I now begin to understand why we did it, because you see the nonsense that's happening with those who have not been given an opportunity and have not been focused and have not been trained for 10 years and have not been given a chance to belong to groups like the Scouts or the Cadets or all of those things that you're going to hear me talk more about on Monday. And we said, look, in this country is two things that Bajans feel strong about: ownership of land and education. How many people grew up in Allen's Land where Allen's Land was a KMPs? How many people grew up in Green Hill, Codrington Hill? And through education, they are where they are in this country. Why should it be possible for people who had education in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s to have the benefit of being able to get an education from Allen Land or from crossing Waterford or from down in Tudor Bridge or crossing Long Gap, and all of a sudden in 2015, 2016, 2014, 2017, 2018, and if they had won the government 2020 and 2025, and your children or grandchildren would have been condemned to having to have dreams deferred, dreams spoilt. But this government said, no, let them go back to school. We forget all the context, you know. This budget didn't come out of midair. This budget has come tomorrow, maybe 10 months. But we have done a lot to hold faith with the people of this country who could not do for themselves and who wanted help to live. So when all the atmospheric noise talking about what kind of budget this is, let me show you what kind of budget it is. It's a budget that builds on what a government has already done to be able to send back to school, not just the ones at the university, but the ones at the community college and the polytechnic who are being asked to start to pay for money. For those senior citizens. And for those who say the budget give back income tax returns, but it ain't help nobody who ain't working. But the same pensioners wasn't working. And the same $5 million, Cynthia, that we have committed over and above the 15 that has been there for 5-6 years in welfare vote. We have put an extra $5 million, a 25% increase last year and this year coming again, to be able to make sure that we can help people more. And for the ones who say they weren't working, Colin will tell you, and I'm sorry Eddie Hinkson is not here, that the people who were sent home by the Democratic Labour Party, the 2,000 people, they sent home twice the amount that we have sent home. And when they sent them home, not a cent. And when they sent them home, in some instances they told you, go to the Employment Rights Tribunal and see if you can get money from there. Because I, as Prime Minister Fernell said, I remember the Sunday evening good when the union met with him up at government headquarters. And when people complained that the then Minister Dennis Lowe had so contrived. In fact, one of the people who was sent home was just here with me from Jackson. He worked there for 8 years. And it sent him home. And left people who had in 6 months and 3 months and 12 months. They left family belonging to the minister. And rather than Frondell look at Dennis Lowe and tell him, you're doing wrong. Last in, first out. This is send everybody to the Employment Rights Tribunal. And you had to wait 2-3 years then to be told that you shouldn't do what you shouldn't do. What kind of morally bankrupt, wicked, pernicious, welcome Adrian Ford. What kind of morally bankrupt government Frondell and them was? I am telling you that this is the government that even though, and Colin was correct, I didn't even know his memory was so good. Because I did tell him that I had never sent home anybody. And I did say that is the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. And that is why I am not going to rest. People tell me, go and take it easy, take it light, take it easy, get some rest. I can get rest. But I cannot fully rest until I know that the majority of people who lost their jobs in the last year have gotten back either jobs or land or businesses to be able to support their families. And I tell you that we made it may not have been perfect in terms of how it was rolled out, largely because of factors beyond our control that I won't get into now. But what we did is that we made sure that virtually everybody could receive the money to which they were entitled. And the numbers being sent were much less than even the Dems sent in 2014. They said they were going to send 3,000. They sent about 2. They sent about 2. And we have sent home, regrettably, just about 1,000 people. So that when I say to you that everything that we do and every action that we have taken has been designed to be able to ease the burden and to protect those who are vulnerable in this country, let me roll forward to the budget. For years, and you heard others talk about it this evening, they reversed and cut the reverse tax credit in half in 2013, you remember? And dropped it from $1,300 to $650. And it's only when the election was coming up that they carried it back to $1,300. But what was worse is that they knew that there was a category of person in this country. And let me break it down because I ain't talking in thousands because most of you don't think about how much you earn in thousands. that people were earning between $1,500 a month and $2,000 and change, $2,050, $2,075 a month, that were not entitled to go and draw the reverse tax credit when they file for income taxes. And I have said to this country on Wednesday, it is not fair, it is not right. My government will make sure that all persons earning between $1,500 and $2,000 and change will be able to draw the reverse tax credit come September this year, so long as they file the income taxes in April and file for, not for income taxes because they don't pay income taxes, but they have to file in order to get it. You all understand what I just said? But this government, the atmospheric noise, want to tell you that this is not a government that has a caring for poor people or working people. I understand, and tomorrow we celebrate 81 years as a political party. And we go to Calvary Moravian Church in the morning and we go to the headquarters afterwards for the traditional lunch. And we do that because we understand that we are still walking and carrying the baton that we must hold to be able to pass it to these young people that we see walking about here. But to do that, it means we have to remain faithful to that vision. And that vision is encompassed when we say to those people earning between $1,500 a month and $2,025 a month that you can get your reverse tax credit now. Because even though we are in an IMF program, we understand that we must protect the people who we have to protect. And we go further. We recognize that even though we have to go to be able to deal with taxes, because we have to get revenue. And we have to stabilize what the last government left us. I said to the others, I want to take care of the people who earning between the $2,025 and almost $2,850 a month. You know how much people earn between $2,000 a month and $2,800 a month? You know how much people earn between there? And right now they pay taxes. They pay income taxes. And I say, okay, I would love to be able to give everybody that free. But I can't because I have to pay the CLICO people. And I have to do all the people that the last government left not paying. I got to give $39 million to 80-something thousand people will get $1,000 each. And I got to turn around and pay out another $10 million in corporation taxes to over 1,700 companies. And then I have VAT refunds to do. And then I have third-party suppliers to pay almost $70 million that we offering them 85 cents in the dollar that we will pay shortly. You understand how much things we paying off? You gone into a house, and when you gone into the house, everything that the person had in there left, you got to pay off everything, light bill, water bill, grocery bill, every kind of bill. But that's all right. Eddie now come. Hinkson, thank you. I just called your name about the same workers going home. Bottom line is that in spite of having to carry and pay off all of those bills, what we have said is that those people earning between $2,000 a month and $25 a month and about $2,800, $2,850 will now have the ability, when they file the income taxes for this year in April next year, to get back every cent that they paid in income tax. You understand what I just tell you? Now some may call it, Peter, a government meeting turn, because it's a form of enforced savings. And some people, they say, oh, well, why you don't give the people the money now? Well, I would love to, but I just told you all the other things that are paying off. But what I've agreed to do is that when April come next year and you file your taxes, if you're paying $1,000 in taxes, if you're paying $600 in taxes, if you're paying $1,250 in taxes, if you're paying $200 in taxes, whatever you pay, earning between $2,025 and $2,850, the government is going to give you back your money. Tell me how many other governments in the Caribbean doing that for people far less a government in an IMF program. My friends, I could go on and on and on. But I use these examples, and let me go further. All the talk about, oh, you put the burden on the land tax. Do you understand that nobody who has houses valued under $150,000 in this country is paying land tax? That is almost every chattel house. You know the majority of houses in Barbados are chattel houses? Does that mean, therefore, that the majority of people are not paying land tax? What madness am I hearing? People talk because they got a mouth and a tongue and they can make and form words. And then we go further. We say that we are not increasing the taxes, the land tax, for any house between 150 and 450,000. So what are you talking about? You're talking about the majority of lower middle income houses in this country. And then when I tell you what and who is carrying the burden on the majority of the land taxes, I told you on Wednesday, it is people earning 2/3. Sorry, people who are companies who are doing it. And companies will pay 2/3 of the increase in the land taxes. Companies will pay $39 million of the $61 million in increased land taxes that are coming. Now, who has the government shifted the burden on there for? They shifted it to companies. And we have shifted it to companies primarily, or the people whose properties are up above, especially $850,000, because you're getting an income tax reduction that is bigger than the people at the bottom. So if you're getting a bigger income tax reduction than the people at the bottom, you have to carry a bigger piece of the land tax. To whom much is given, much is expected. And to the companies, we didn't get there because we wanted to get there, so we got there because at the end of the day, we had to get there because Don Valinis committed to the OECD that we would dismantle the international business sector, which meant that we had to reduce our company taxes to down where the international business companies used to pay. Don't let me start in here this evening. I beg you do. Don't let me start. And it will not be another few hours, trust me. Somebody want to call me Fidelita. But the bottom line is this, my friends. On the eve of the Labour Party's 81st anniversary, we remain committed to the people who built this party and who inspired its formation 81 years ago. But we also are not stuck 81 years ago, because we understand that your children and your grandchildren have large dreams, and they need therefore a government that can accommodate the large dreams to allow them to become global citizens. What is Rihanna if not a global citizen and icon? 10 years ago, 15 years ago, many of you might have stood at the corner of the gap there, Bush Hall Main Road and Bush Hall Yard Gap, and would have seen her going up in a ZR to Commonwealth from Westbury Road. And where is she today? The icon that she is. There are youngsters across this country who have gone overseas and are doing us proud. But I don't forget who they are. And we must never let them forget who they are and where they've come from. But it requires us rooting them and requires us understanding that if we are to make this nation great, then we have to do the things that will keep it stable. I'm not going to talk tonight about the crime. I will do that on Monday. But suffice it to say that the Attorney General spoke on my behalf last night and gave an excellent presentation to the country. Suffice it to say that I will also address the fact that our approach to the crime is not single purposed or single driven, but it is multifaceted. And when I speak on Monday, I will speak to that. But I want to bring a young lady to you, and she didn't think that I was going to ask her to speak. But I do that because I don't get tied up. Last election, when we were preparing and moving around the country and rubbing shoulders, she was one of the young people who came to this party. Perhaps should have come before. Roots could have come before. But the lesson in it is that we feel that because we got children of stalwarts, that they immediately feel that they're Labour Party. It don't work so. We have to find a way of building bridges to them. And when I saw her for the first time speak in Kirk's constituency, she so impressed me. And she impressed me also about her vision and her determination and where her vista lay. Because it was not contained, it was not small in the way that the Democratic Labour Party and Frondel wanted it to be small. And for me, she represents a metaphor of what we have come to public life to do, to be able to give more Omega people chances like her. Because this is what this Labour Party is about. So when I ask you to stay the course, it is against that background. And I will come back and speak to you because I have a few constituency things that I want to address. Come there.
Good night. Good night. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Ms. Prime Minister. What a pleasure it is to be here and an honor to speak at Ms. Motley's branch meeting. Now, I know that I wasn't expecting to come here tonight, but in this game, that's the way it is, and you must always be prepared. So I will speak very briefly. I always like to come from a perspective as a young person. It's good to pick up all the young people that came out tonight. I know that politics is not always, your cup of tea, but for those who came out, thank you. And so I just want to come from a personal perspective tonight. And as she was saying, there was a point in my life where I started to lose hope in politics. And Mr. Kirk Humphrey came by through our neighborhood. And after speaking to him for the first time, he really opened my eyes, and I really said, no, you can't give up. He's somebody that I want to work with because he has a vision for Barbados, and he would become a part of a team themselves that has a vision for Barbados. And that's what we want. In the past 10 years, since election, I really don't like to talk about the Democratic Labour Party. I just think now that we're on a course now that we have to look toward the future of this country. And I know that when I look into most of the people that because now I've become Minister Humphrey's assistant, and I assist him every day with matters in the constituency and ministry. And so I have a first-hand view of, what we are facing, our challenges that we are facing every day. And ordinary people like you and I come into the office every day with issues that they have from things that you would not even imagine. And sometimes it is really heartbreaking to see what our people are going through. And I said that to say, stay the course. Because now we are at a point now where we came from a place where we didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, even before in 2008, when the former administration had took office, when I woke up and I heard the terrible news, I asked my girlfriend, who she's with me a lot. She couldn't make it tonight because she had something with her son. But she's with me a lot in the political arena. And I said to her, what's going to happen to Barbados? Like, know that, but I still said to myself, we're going to give them a chance and see what they can do. But after the first 5 years, we could have just seen things spiraling down. And since then, they just kept going down, And so, now we're to a point where we've moved past that. And the people of Barbados have spoken and said that they wanted better. We gave the Democratic Labour Party a chance, and they proved what they could do, which was a lot of damage. And now, Ms. Motley and her team are faced with the task of repairing our country. I know, especially from the experiences I have daily at the office, that a lot of people had expected a lot of immediate results when the government had changed. However, being there on the inside and seeing, it isn't immediate. It is a lot of hard work. And I do believe that it will take each and every one of us to at least even lift a finger to make that dream a reality again. That Barbados can be somewhere that anyone would aspire to live, to work, to do business, just to even come for vacation. Because we know when you even put Barbados in Google, we were seeing sewage. But now, we can see this lady's face and her team each and every time. And I do believe that she is doing a fantastic job. She's working really hard. She works my minister very hard, and all the others. And they themselves are doing a fantastic job, and I want to thank them for their time and their effort, because I know it isn't easy when you come in and you see damage like what you saw. For you now to draw from your strengths to help each and every one of us, and that's what they are doing. Now, the result might not be as immediate as we would like. Ms. Motley did say each step of the way during her election campaign that it would not be easy. I always draw on the thing she said. If you used to drink a 4 for 10, you're going to drink a 2 for 10. But it ain't going to be forever. I am sure that we will get to a stage where each and every Barbadian can be proud to be Barbadian again and to live and work in this country. Now, I know that you've heard quite a lot of people speak tonight, and so I just want to say thank you for your patience, thank you for your support to the Barbados Labour Party, and we pray and ask for your continued support. And we hope to see you tomorrow at our 81st church service and the luncheon after. So thank you again. Good night, and God bless each and every one of you.
You see why I wanted her to come and speak now? And this is the talent of, she hasn't said she wants to run, or maybe she should, but she is just a young Barbadian who wants to share a perspective and who wants better for her country. And I go to work, therefore, every day to be able to make it possible for people like her and others to have the kind of future that they should have and deserve in this country. And thank you, my dear. And that brings me to the other points. Because in helping stabilize and in giving back the tax returns that we are doing, even at the higher end, it means that people at the higher end will start to hire people again. Jobs will start to abound again. Because a fellow who is now getting back tax refunds that can allow him, that he was mowing his own lawn and doing them kind of things, now will want to hire somebody to help him with the landscaping or to bring in a landscaping service. People and women who love to do the nails and the feet and things, so all of a sudden they stop doing it and we're doing it once a month or once every 6 weeks. All of a sudden they're going to start going regular again, which means that the young ladies who do these services will start getting work again. That's what these changes mean. And then when you hear me talk about the hotels that will start building, yesterday you saw me in Boarded Hall with Sagicor looking to build a $200 million US retirement village. Or earlier in the 2 weeks ago, you saw me with the hardware store up Kendall Hill that's spending $40 million US. That is going to build a huge hardware store that you can drive in. You don't even have to get out the truck to get the lumber or the materials that you need as a contractor or even a homeowner. And then before that, Colin, I was with you with the train and the attractions up in Cherry Tree Hill in St. Peter at Nicholas Abbey. And they too made the point that they are hiring the people who live around them in the north to get the work. And in about 2 weeks' time, I'm going else back in St. George to an agro-processing plant. And week by week by week, we have additional people coming forward saying, we now want to invest in your country. We feel confident that if we invest in your country, we will get a return. And more so, you don't have people begging us for nothing or getting the corrupt practices out of us. This is the Barbados that will build for your children. I will continue to support it. And when people say that things are a little hard, yes, they could be a little easier. But in coming along, we said, carry these old people with us who cannot take care of themselves. Find the money to do it. Find the $23 million a year to pay for your students who go to university. And the extra few million to pay for them at community college and to pay for them at the polytechnic. It costs money. The extra $5 million that goes to Cynthia. The $10 million that we put in the Ministry of Public Works so that instead of them having to come to work every day and watch rusty equipment that ain't working, all of a sudden they can use equipment now and clean up the country and build ridges and do all kinds of basic patching across Barbados. How can a government leave 600 men for the better part of 3-4 years without any equipment to use at MTW? Huh? And we are now dealing with the buses, and we are dealing also with the sanitation trucks. And I will speak more to that on Monday. But suffice it to say that I know that the future is bright. And to the people of St. Michael Northeast, I know that you have had to carry a harder strain, you and the people in St. Thomas and in St. Joseph and St. Andrew and a few other areas, because they felt that you were loyal to an opposition. And we used to have to peep and hide to get work done, right? Peep and hide and make do. But we didn't have to peep and hide to do Stadium Road. And it's smooth. And we didn't have to peep and hide to do Friendship, which for 12 years you in Friendship know that you couldn't get a single patched pothole, far less the road done. Sundown was one of the ones we peep and hide. Sundown was a peep and hide. But in addition to that, Trevor is not here this evening, but I want to thank him too, because Waterford Bottom truly will become Waterford Boulevard. And if it looked good already only because it cleaned up and it ain't landscape yet, imagine how it's going to look when it get landscape. Imagine how it's going to look. And the bottom line is this. To the people of St. Michael Northeast, you know why I've held on to this vision? Because if you can create a heritage, sporting and recreational zone, starting from Tyrrell Court in Codrington Hill, and coming across, you now see, I promise the footballers on the Lumber Company playing field are not going to let you mash up your ankles and your shins and your feet no more, your knees. And for the first time in God knows a decade and a half, that playing field is now being properly graded and the grass being rebuilt so that your children and grandchildren who play on that field don't have to mash up the body just because they want to go and run about a little bit and to get a little exercise. And hopefully by the end of the year, that field will be fully grassed and ready for the Masters tournament, which we have there exactly unified, and them, the club from across the road, will be able to use it for the tournament that they have every November and early December. We have kept faith. We can't do everything all at once because Rome wasn't built overnight and we weren't left with the budget the treasury to be able to do everything at once. We're now starting to be able to make sure that those of you whose houses are really in a bad way, and part of the difficulty relates to ownership of land from which people are renting, and we're waiting a legal opinion on that now. Because the truth is that many of these houses that still have pit toilets are already on rented land, but you have to be able to lift people's quality of living up, and therefore we have to find a way to be able to improve and to help those who need help. Because if their children and their families are in those conditions, what do you think starts to happen? And that's why my government is committed to reducing the density of housing in the Pine Wildy, in Silver Hill, Gall Hill, and eventually in all of the other housing areas. But I know this, that without adding a cent to the government's debt, without having to spend a cent, we are going to get the 30 acres for the Pine and 35 acres for Silver Hill, Gall Hill, so that we can put in the roads and put in the services and allow people only from those areas. Why? Because you need people to live in surroundings that are decent and that can allow them to raise their families and to help them understand that the quality of life that they can aspire to makes them want to live. When people start shooting about people, it's obviously that they don't care about their own life. They have nothing to lose. And we have to give our young people something to lose and something to aspire to, and a dignity and a sense of responsibility. And that is what my government is working to do with you. But particularly to the people of St. Michael Northeast, I say to you that if we can create that zone from Tyrrell Court to the Lumber Company playing field, making sure that that then becomes an adjunct to the National Stadium, and then we do a renewed, refurbished, new National Stadium, not refurbished, but you can't really refurbish that. But we have to find the money to do it, because I'm not going to make foolish decisions to put this country in debt without knowing how we're going to pay for it. And similarly, when we go across the road now to the National Botanical Gardens, I am happy that all of the landscape architects of Barbados have come together. We now have a plan. And that part there from Waterford Plantation is phase 1. And when you cross the road on Waterford Boulevard, you like me, huh? It sounds good. It is then going to become phase 2 over there. But think about it. If you have 250 acres in phase 1, people coming there often, people coming to the stadium, people going to Tyrrell Court, it means that the people who are entrepreneurs in this community, this side of the road, through the bridge, Long Gap, Waterford, these are the communities that benefit. In the same way that the people around Kensington Oval will benefit by being entrepreneurial when you have events at Kensington Oval. In the same way that people around the garrison will benefit from around the garrison when the garrison has events. And as Member of Parliament, I've always said to you that one of my visions is to be able to make sure that the people in this constituency don't even have to ask me for nothing. Because we have given you the opportunity to make for yourself and for your families. And by creating these zones, this recreational, this heritage, and this sporting zone, I'm creating opportunities for all of you around here to be able to live and to get business opportunities with the thousands and tens of thousands of people that will come to our National Botanical Gardens and an entertainment space on an ongoing basis. And you know what I mean. When they used to have the pick of the crop at the stadium and the kadooment at the stadium, how much people from out this side make money? Think about it. And we need to get there again. So I ask you, please, stay the course. Stay the course. We are at the stadium in a 4x1 relay. I did not say a 5x1. I said a 4x1. We are almost at the end of the first leg. That first 400 meters of track. We are at 350 meters in the first round. But we still have 3 more legs to run after this year. When May 24th come, you still have 4 or 3 more to run. And therefore, if you have managed to set such a hot pace in the first leg of the relay, I beg you do, help me increase the pace in the second, the third, and the fourth. And you know why? Because we are getting fitter each time we run round. And we are making sure that as we run around, more people are running with us to carry the burden. So that I ask you, my friends, let us recognize, come tomorrow, the 81st birthday at church with us, because it is a good thing to give thanks to God, to thank Him for all that we have gained. And last year when we met at St. Michael's Cathedral for the 80th anniversary, we told you that this was going to be a momentous year for us. And that there was something special about the number 8. 80 years. May 24th was 3 8s. And that we wanted to have the 8th Prime Minister of Barbados. And all the 8s came together. But having come together, it is now our turn and duty to do what we promised to do. I am satisfied that we have done well. We are on the right path. We're keeping the right pace. But we need to stay the course. Help me to help you stay the course. Good night and God bless.
All right, before we rush off, don't rush off yet. Don't rush off yet. Don't rush off yet. We're not quite finished. I'm going to ask you to please dig into your pockets. I'm preparing you for tomorrow. Tomorrow you're going to church. You're going to have to do this. So you can start now. All right? Again, you're dry run now. Dig into your pockets. Members of the branch. Come on, ready, members of the branch. Members of the branch are going to come around. And we're going to ask you to make a small contribution so that we in St. Michael Northeast can continue to put on our programs and help finance our efforts and so on. I'm not going to say a prayer, but I'm going to ask you to dig into your pockets, your bags, whatever it is, and put out a little offering